in from other towns. There used to be a host in every one of these saloons, trying to talk about local matters, sports.
That ain't good, stranger. Could you tell me how this happened?
Well, it started when one corporation bought another, and they got rid of the good management and brought in a bunch of bumbling idiots and started firing all the local ranchers and replacing them one by one with these strangers from out of town.
I've heard that story before. Static and tumbleweeds, I'm moving on.
South Florida's choice for sports talk. OnSideRadio.com. Zone.
And look, man, I don't care if you're my wife. If I don't agree with you, I'm going to say it.
The Onside Zone.
I don't care how you win a championship, dude. You can draft it, you can buy it, you can trade for it. Just win, baby.
The Onside Zone.
You're not Aladdin rubbing the lamp and then Will Smith comes out and you ask him, hey, fix our dolphin problems. And there he goes. No, I'm sorry. It'd be nice if it was that easy, but it's not.
You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can connect with us at OnSideRadio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. The Onside Zone with a big O.
All right. All righty, welcome aboard. Good morning, boys and girls. Yes, sir, it is time to have some fun over the next couple of hours here on the program. Feeling good. Voices hanging in there on a Thursday. Pretty good. Not too bad. We're going to put it to the test today because we actually have no guests today for 2 hours. So we're going to do 2 strong hours of talk today. Well, we'll do 2 hours. Whether it's strong or not, that's up to you guys and, you know, the responses and the downloads and all that good stuff. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. Alex Aguirre, how are you doing this afternoon, sir? Are you doing all right?
Doing good. Can't, a little bummer about last night with the Marlins.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
You know what? It's another day.
Yimi gave it up.
I can't complain. He's been great.
I know. He's got 9 saves on the year, man.
And Bo
ERA under 3
with that 98. And he tomahawked a 98 mile per hour fastball at his eye level down the first baseline. It's just baseball. You shrug your shoulders to it. It's just one of those things.
Bittersweet for me because I have Bo Bichette on my fantasy team.
Oh well, there you go. I mean, it's in the genes.
Oh, yes. It's
in the genes.
Yes.
Guerrero, Biggio, they got a whole family, man.
I used to call his dad Dante, don't call me Suzanne Plachette.
That's like a boomer type of reference that he always makes those nicknames with the players.
Yes, exactly. And Suzanne Plachette was an actress. So Dante Bichette.
We'll be right back to the man of the match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You're listening to the home of Inter Miami CF.
His strike is a decent one. It's fired into the top right corner. Gonzalo Higuain opens his account for Inter Miami.
OnSideRadio.com, where the passion for La Rosa Negra runs deep. Download the Radio.net app and listen to Onside Radio in every Inter Miami CF game. OnSideRadio.com, your home for Inter Miami soccer.
Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last. To the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Dunkin' to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world. point statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inner Miami Marketing, LLC. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno.
It's all yours. Just keep it right here.
You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yes! Oh, it is. It is. Man of the Match with Alex Donno. Oh, I'm Alex Donno. And I'm with you guys here on OnSideRadio.com. Man of the Match taking you up until 6 o'clock here tonight. We'll hand it off to Stephen D on Miami Sports Music for the fans. And then at 7 o'clock, I will be back alongside James Walker hosting Fight Night tonight. Got a big show planned, including, guys, within minutes, maybe even seconds, we're going to be going live to Pat Riley, the Godfather, his post-game presser. Post-mortem, put a bow on the season we just saw. Pat always brings it so strong in these postseason availabilities. You hear basically an entire year's worth of information from the Godfather, and it's always pretty incredible. This one ended in a really disappointing fashion, getting swept in the first round of the playoffs by the Milwaukee Bucks. You have to wonder if serious changes are coming. Is that Riley out at the podium? Oh. Alex is telling me to call. He's telling me to call a timeout. Okay. Oh man. So we're going to be joining Riley in progress in a few minutes here on Onside Radio. So we'll hear Pat putting a bow on this Miami Heat season in the 4 o'clock hour, my friends. Around 4:35 p.m. we are going to bring in our good pal Kyle Krabs, who always does an amazing job with us on Thursdays. Kyle Krabs is going to be joining us 4:35 to talk some Miami Dolphins, talk a little Tua. 5 o'clock sharp, we're going to talk some Florida Panthers with Dave Dwork from Chirping the Cats Radio. 5:35, we're going to talk with our friend Ira Winderman from the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. Ira is going to be reacting to everything that Pat Riley had to say today. He's going to give us our accurate Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report at 5:35 p.m. So we're going to have a strong show. Looking out at the YouTube chat, keep in mind you can watch us live on YouTube. Jamolism is in. He says Forza Inter as well to you, my friend. And Inter Milan, they're going to be in the area at the end of July 25th and 28th. They're going to be playing games in Orlando. I can't go to the game on the 25th. They're part of the Florida Cup, along with, I think the other teams. I know two of the other teams are Arsenal and Everton. They're having a 4-team Florida Cup in Orlando. The first game is going to be played on July 25th. The second game, which will be both the final of the tournament and the third-place game of the tournament, so all 4 teams are going to play on both days, is going to be on the 28th, which is a Wednesday in July. I'm going to be at the game on the 28th for sure, so it's going to be freaking awesome. We also have Manny Fernandez in the chat. Hello, Manny. He says he's watching on YouTube. Well, I figure you're watching on YouTube if you're commenting on the YouTube, my friend. So keep in mind, you can stream us live and chat live at YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, search for Onside Radio, make us your favorite station, and hit the watch live button so that you can check out everything we got going on live. And if you're unable to watch us live, you can listen to us live at onsideradio.com. And if you go to onsideradio.com, there's not only a listen live button where you can listen to us right on the website, but there's a bunch of different free mobile apps where you can download and listen to the station. Take us with you on the go, wherever you might be. You can take us with you with your headphones on a jog. You can listen to us in the car. You just connect your smartphone to Bluetooth, pump us right through your speakers. That's what I do every single day. My commute to and from Drive Pink Stadium, where we broadcast live, I'm always listening to OnSideRadio.com. By the way, how embarrassing is it the way that New York Knicks fans are reacting to winning one playoff game? I mean, they get humiliated by the Atlanta Hawks in 5, and they are flexing. I'm surprised they didn't drop confetti at Madison Square Garden, winning that one game. You remember when they dropped confetti years ago when they won exactly one playoff game against the Miami Heat? What was it, 2012 playoffs, I think it was? They win one playoff game. They get the gentleman's sweep against the Miami Heat. They drop confetti at MSG after one playoff victory. I'm surprised they didn't drop more confetti. Frank Isola is an embarrassment. Do we have? Can we go live to Pat now, Alex? Can we? All right. So we are going to go live postseason. The Godfather, Pat Riley.
And the stoppage of play, and then last year in the finals, and this whole season right here. So it has been a rather intense 14 months, really intense 14 months. And I think everybody's had that affect them in some way in the NBA and even with our team. And so where do we go from here, Tim? Is the same thing we've done over the last 25 years. We try to get better. We have a good core, and you got to eradicate and put out of your mind, all of the thoughts that others might have about what they think you should do. I mean, we've been at this for a while. So, where we're headed first is rest. Our players, our staff, the people that have been here every day, every single day, they're mentally worn out more so than physically. And I think they just need to rest for a couple of weeks, a month. We're already planning the combine. We're already planning, summer league. And so all of those things as to what the schedule has in front of us, free agency, a draft where we don't have any picks, but I can guarantee you we'll probably get a couple of good players out of this year's draft somehow. So that's where we're headed. And then we'll deal with free agency.
I know last year you sort of suggested maybe it was time to move away or retire from the whale-seeking term, but you are one of the teams with some major financial flexibility this summer. Now, you have very few guys under contract, so you're going to have to use some of that money, of course. But is the mantra that you'll go into whatever August 2nd or August 6th or whatever the date is the same? Will you look to add that third big name to pair with the cornerstones that you have in Jimmy and Bam? Thanks, Pat.
We'll see. As I said earlier, flexibility is a good way to go. And I think you all knew last year after the season ended, for the most part, at least it was out there in this space, this NBA space, in which they talk about what teams are going to be doing with their asset base or their flexibility. And, so there's a lot of opinions out there. And we made a decision last year that, what we would do is that we were going to try to preserve, room. That's what our plan was. And we worked that, I think, as best as we could to preserve room for this year. We're going to have it. We're not going to have a max slot, but we're going to have a lot of room if we want to use that. But there's so many other ways, Tim, that you improve your team. Obviously, we like our core. There are trades that you can make. There's sign-in trades. There's free agency. We have room exceptions. Whichever way you want to go. If you're going to be a cap team or a room team, will direct us in that manner. So I don't think you can continue to defer your room or your flexibility down the road. I mean, somewhere you have to make a decision on the 2 or 3 players that you think are your franchise, anchors, other players around them who will complement them, and players that will really add a specific fix to what our weaknesses are. People will think that our weaknesses might be we don't have the size. We got out-rebounded incredibly bad in the playoffs. Our defense was down a little bit this year. So, the kind of players that we want to bring in here have to have talent. They got to get character. How do they fit? What is it that they will fix that we need fixing? Can you trust them? Is it something that, that Spo really likes to do, that he might might add to that or change, but those are the thoughts that you go through, and then you have specific players out there that you look at that can do these things for you.
All right, next we go to Barry Jackson.
Hi, Pat. A couple things. One, I meant to ask you on the night of the trade deadline. Do you and Sam Presti have an understanding of the terms that would be necessary to unlock the 2023 pick, which would thus allow you to trade 24, 25, or 26? And even though you're doing them a favor by doing that, should you ever do it, do you feel like, from the way Presti has portrayed it to you, that you would need to compensate them to do that?
Well, anytime you negotiate with anybody that has an asset of yours, then you got to find out what the cost would be. So we haven't had those kinds of discussions. We don't have any kind of understanding on anything. OKC has that pick. It's protected. And so, we'll see what happens. I think we've done, really well in this decade. We've given up a lot of picks, and then if you go back and you think about who you gave those picks up for, when we got the big three here, we do that over again. I'd do the same thing for Goran. We really never got what we thought was the kind of team that we would have, because Chris was ill at the time and really couldn't help us that much. It goes all the way back, to the times where, any kind of picks that we gave up, I thought we benefited from that. And so now we got, 7 picks out of our next 8 years, basically, and we don't have many second round picks. But Barry, to answer your question specifically, no, there's no understanding on the 23 pick.
Okay, and then my one other thing is, we've seen obviously the last couple of years in this modern NBA game, Spo likes playing someone next to Bam who has 3-point range. And I guess my question to you would be, would it increase the options you have to find a big to play alongside Bam if Bam committed himself to becoming a high quality 3-point shooter? Is that necessary in your mind, and does that need to happen quickly?
No, doesn't need to happen quickly. You have to take, as a coach, you take a hard look at all the numbers, all the metrics, the way you want to play, how he was played, how Jimmy was played. And you think about, as I said, the kind of help you might need to either compliment him, or he compliments himself by becoming a Luka Doncic, making threes on step backs and stuff. I'm just, but yeah, Spo really likes to use Bam with a stretch 5 or 4. He might have to change. You never know. He might have to think about, what's going to be the next thing in the NBA that you will require, that will require you to get somebody to sort of stay with that kind of play. So look, the game is fast paced. It's wide open. Guys are jacking threes from half court, and guys are taking bad threes that, 5 years ago, guys would probably be on the bench for taking those kinds of shots. And so that's the game, because that skill level has been taught to such a high degree and such a degree of efficiency that you have to defend a team that likes to have a lot of room to allow their players to go to the basket. Now, to get a big that can shoot threes and rebound at the same time and defend and protect the rim, that's a very unique player. And there's not many of them around. And so I think you get one or the other. You can get a 3, you can get a 5-man that can make a 3 and be a good shooter. I mean, Belly's is a great shooter from 3. Kelly was a great shooter from 3. Denman, Dwayne, he can make threes, from that standpoint. So we have the Myers Leonard. We have those kinds of players that can stretch the floor, but I'll leave that to Spo, and Spo and I'll talk about it. But those are the things that we have to think about as to style of play, and would the person be a good fit, and will he fix 2 issues or 3 issues that you need fixed.
Next we go to Anthony Chang.
Hey, Pat. Obviously, Jimmy's eligible for an extension this offseason. If he does ask for the 4-year max extension, is that a no-brainer in your eyes just because of what he's done in his first 2 years with the organization, or does a conversation need to be had just kind of about the potential salary cap implications of that type of commitment?
Well, somewhere along the line, when you have great players, all NBA players, all defensive players, players like Jimmy, that are high level, very impactful players for you, that you're going to have to pay them what their market value is. We haven't really discussed that internally yet. So I know it's something that that's been out there in the media, but it has not been discussed. And I'm sure that when the time comes, we'll have a good conversation with Jimmy about that.
And one other thing, obviously restricted free agency gives you guys a better chance to keep your own free agents. I guess, what's your view of Duncan and Kendrick's situation as they enter this summer, looking really for their first big contracts of their career, and just kind of their development in their first 2 years with you guys?
Well, both of those players have performed at a very high level, and they've really helped us. If you think about it, K9, he averages 15 a game. He shoots 38% from three. He's a guy that can probe the defense. He can get to the basket. He can raise on threes. He can raise on floaters, on runners. He's a hell of an offensive player. He's not really a playmaker from that standpoint, or somebody who's just, okay, this is a point guard. He's going to run offense and score. But he's a hell of a player. Duncan could be considered the top shooter in the NBA. So I applaud both of these guys for coming in with, just very little reputation, no guarantees, and winning their jobs, winning their spots, and winning their time. They've had their ups and downs, but young players will. But we like both of them, and we'll see what happens with them when it comes, to the market.
All right, guys, we are listening live to Pat Riley, the Godfather, addressing the media after the Miami Heat season. So this is good stuff. We're going to stay with this as long as it goes. Pat Riley with the South Florida media.
Report on him, but it was pretty dramatic. What are your thoughts on where Tyler Hero stands as an asset, as a player, as a core player?
He's a core player. That's all there is to it. Look at when we got swept by Milwaukee, that was an absolute team breakdown. It wasn't any one individual. When you get blown out like that and you get, beaten by a great team, it isn't any individual. Tyler Hero is a core player for us. You might have hit it on the head, Ira. Maybe he had a sophomore jinx or whatever, but when we drafted, Tyler and KZ, and then we signed Jimmy, that was 22 months ago. And over the last 22 months, from the night that he stepped up on that stage with Adam Silver in that swag coat and necklace, was a wonderful night for him and for us. He put the Heat hat on, and then he went and electrified a lot of people in this arena and in this city, and especially our coaches in this organization. So Tyler's a core player. He'll figure it out. We'll figure it out with him. But, what happened to him going down the stretch? I actually thought he got better as a player. If you think about his first year or his first 35 or 40 games, he really was strictly a catch and shoot type of player, coming off screens and catching and shooting. And the only way that he was ever going to become more of a complete offensive player is he had to improve his ball handling with both his right hand and his left hand. And he did. He's an exceptional ball handler. And now he can create space and get into gaps and raise on jumpers from almost anywhere. So this year was really a step up, not experimenting, but he did a lot of probing and dribbling and going in to the gaps and driving baseline and dribbling back out the other side. And that's sort of the nature of a scorer. And so he and K9 are scorers, and we expect his shooting now to even get even better in those situations. As far as the other parts of his games, I think as he grows up, he's going to, and what I mean grow in maturity as a player, that he'll get better across the board. But he's a core player, Ira. I'm not concerned about him.
And we've also spoken to over the years when it was Bam and Hassan. You spoke. I remember how you might talk to Eric. You can do bigs together. It might work. Eric has his preference how he does it. This year, Precious and Bam rarely played together. And even in the second half of the season, when Dwayne Dedman came on and gave you a truer big man, he still stayed away from that. Philosophically, and I know the coaches and the presidences, but do you see a possibility of Bam playing alongside a big? Or is Bam just going to be a athletic, I don't want to say undersized, but different kind of center? In other words, the power rotation, is what it is, or do you see the possibility of big? Thank you.
Well, there's a possibility of that. When you go back and look at the results, of what you've accomplished, since Bam's been here and who he has played with during that time, his game has evolved in a lot of ways, but when it comes to what Coach Spo is going to do when he pairs a front line together, it'll be situational. Situational could be every night as a starter, and then throughout the course of the game, you change your rotation. But these are questions that I think can be answered, later on by him as he evaluates this year and how Bam played and who he played with, and then what's out there and what we might bring in. So what I'm saying to you is that, yes, there's a possibility that it could be big, and there's a possibility that it could still be similar to what you've seen in the past. And the bottom line to all of that is that if the impact of that pairing doesn't equal winning, and you're not winning at a high level, you could be winning just enough. I think we're 15 games over 500 or something like that, maybe in the last 2 years. But that's something you have to think about. We'll see what happens with it.
Next, we go to Will Manson.
Hey, Pat, Jimmy was asked after the Milwaukee series how much input he would like or how much that works the conversation with the front office on what is ahead with the team. What are those conversations like? How do you lean on a Jimmy or a Bam in the direction of the club, given the NBA is so much about player relationships, players, kind of, I don't want to say handpicking, but discussing and figuring out who they want to play with in the future?
Well, I want to hire both of their agents, and then I'm going to go to their agents and ask them to come to Mickey and ask for a max contract for me. And so if he has any kind of input into what goes on in this franchise, I want Jimmy to give me a max contract.
All right, next we go to Dave Hyde.
Hey, Pat, one of the unfinished sentences this year was Victor Oladipo. Where do you see, that going from here with him?
We knew, Dave, when we made the trade that there was a risk. He ended up injuring himself, 4 games into this run, and he's had a surgery. And it would be like any other free agent that we would have on the team that sustained that injury. He'll be rehabbing with us until he's healthy enough to get out of that cast. And I don't even think there's going to be any rehabbing going on right now at all. It's just healing. He's going to let it heal and heal and heal and get strong and attached to that. From that standpoint, I think we'll just monitor them. We're going to work with them, and then we'll see what happens when in August when we sit down and talk to
him. Next, we'll go to Ethan Skolnick.
Pat, obviously Bam made tremendous progress here over the past 3 years, and all-star team and everything else. What was sort of your view of his playoff series and kind of his approach to it? Is there something you want him, because there was a lot of talk about aggressiveness with him. I'm just wondering, from your perspective on the offensive end, what that means and what you may want him to improve on.
Well, if he improves this year as much as he has over the last 4 years, then you're going to get a better player next year. Now, where are those elements that he has to improve in? I think when it comes down to really taking a look at his season, evaluating a lot of film, I think Spo has to evaluate a little bit, how he uses, Bam. And Bam is one of our primary, ball handlers and gets us into offense. And sometimes there is a disconnect between running offense and really being effective as an offensive player. So I think all of these things will be worked out. But I do know that we've got, one of the highest character, toughest guys in the league that really has a lot of talent, still has a lot of upside. And I wouldn't let what happened against Milwaukee, deter me in any way, shape, or form, as far as what I think Bam can bring to it. So, all the questions that are basically coming at me are about style or how, what does Bam have to do to improve, or Jimmy or Duncan or Tyler or anybody, is that I think all these things over the next 4 or 5 months, guys will be working on them and the coaches will be working on them. And I think Bam, probably as much as anybody, will be working on it.
Pat, just one quick follow on that. In your experience, because I know he's going to be working on it, in your experience, can a player develop a takeover type mentality? In other words, if maybe they weren't, say, counted on to do that at other levels, can they develop that kind of? Because Dwayne came in and he had it immediately. I'm just wondering, with your experience in the league, is that something that can develop over time? That get out of the way and I'm going to take over here?
That's a very interesting question. And because you do have a lot of players in this league, at the top of the elite list of takeover players, that it's part of their DNA, but it's also been a learned habit from the time they were probably just starting to be great players in high school. They were the guys that were taking over games at the end of games, and right through college, if they went to college, and right in the NBA. The impact of that might not have led to a lot of winning, because you have a lot of volume scorers in this league where their teams have never won. And, one of the greatest performances that I've ever seen in a game clutch was, Lillard the other night against Denver. And God bless him. I mean, he has not won a championship yet, but it isn't because he's not a guy that doesn't have it at the end of a game. So it takes repetition in missing shots as much as it takes anything else to get the confidence to be able to take those shots, to make sure you get a great shot, to make sure you can make a number of them, and that it doesn't turn out to be a turnover. You see most of these great players who have that internal clock in their head when they have to take over a game. They master the shot clock, they master time, score, situation. They master who's out on the court, with them. And then at the end of the game, if it was up to them, just like Jimmy did in Milwaukee, when he was lined up against Giannis, that layup was going to be his. And he tied the game, and we lost in overtime on Middleton's shot. But it's as much a learned thing as it is something that just happens through repetition and confidence from the coach. And so that is something that Bam will continue to work on as he gets more and more opportunities going down the stretch to either make or miss, and win. And so, when you take a look at what happened last night, you got Kawhi, at the end of a game. It's not blaming him, but it's a make or miss. He's been in that situation so many times, and he's made more shots than he's ever missed, probably in that situation in the biggest of moments. But he's got another game to come back to prove that he can make that shot. So Bam will learn this. He'll learn a lot from this, Ethan, this failure, I think, over the summer.
You're listening live to Man of the Match here on Onside Radio, and we have Pat Riley's presser live, the Godfather, addressing the media, talking about everything that went on here in this NBA season. Keep it listening right here.
Annual Pat Riley question is: you continue to grow younger for some odd reason. How long you invested?
I look good.
You look fantastic, Pat. Nice shave, everything. COVID-free,
I
vaccine.
get back in shape, everybody. Okay, I got a coat on. Get out all that stuff. We were wearing sweatpants during, sheltering in, and get back into our uniforms.
Hey, you found a razor. Good for you.
A little one.
Is there a long view? Is there a succession plan? Sort of take us through as of this date where you see Pat Riley being down the short-term road.
No, I'm getting ready for the combine, and then we're getting ready for the summer league. And we didn't have mandatory exit meetings this year for a number of reasons, but I got to meet with at least 7 or 8 guys that I wanted to talk to, and Spo met with the younger players, the development players that he needed to talk to. We'll be in touch with players that are under contract to us, over the next couple of weeks. But I just wanted everybody to get out and rest and decompress and purge out that real sour feeling and taste in our mouth that we had after the Milwaukee series. So as far as I go, I'm ready to roll forward and try to make this team better. I think we made some great strides, and for all of our fans, out there, it was so great to be able to see the place packed, and I'm really disappointed that our fans didn't really get to see, what the Heat really are like and what they're about. They saw them from a distance. I'm sure that last year in the finals, the Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers were probably higher rated than Netflix in most homes, in Miami. And it was a lot of fun watching that team go through the playoffs last year. And it was just very disappointing, for us and for our fans, for our sponsors, for season ticket holders, all the people that support us. They're probably disappointed today, but just hang in there, keep the faith. We'll be back. Okay, we're going to be back as we are every year. And
then there's sort of an elephant in the room. If the Bam Adebayo extension was not made or offered, same money would have been paid now. You would have had $13 million more in salary cap space and been in a different position. How difficult or not was doing that, and how difficult or not is it now knowing that this offseason you have $13 million less with the exact same extension in place? Thank you.
Well, that was a decision that, he and his agent made. We did discuss every single option and picture and scenario out in front of him. And, but he deserved it. He was up for it. The guy came off an all-star year. He came off an NBA Finals year. I think the most important thing you do now in this league is when you get a great young player. Bam wasn't, a top 5 pick. He wasn't a top 10 pick. And so, when you're picking at the teens and somebody really hits and improves and helps you win and is the kind of person you want that has talent, character, he's a great fit. He's great in the community. You trust him. All of those things, Ira. He did what was in his best interest, and we simply said yes. We tried to convince him that this could be different, but at the end of the day, this is what the man deserved.
Next, we go to Josh Mosier.
Hi, Pat. You mentioned earlier that everyone is mentally worn out right now. And for you specifically, what perspective did you gain over these last 16 months going through the bubble for 18 months and now the season? Just that perspective about your own career and really your personal life.
Well, it's been hard for everybody in the world. NBA players and staff and executives and writers and correspondents and television people, anybody who's involved in the NBA family or industry, this is a challenging year from the standpoint of how you used to do your job versus how you have to do it now. But in anything in life, as I said, it doesn't make any difference what happens to you. It's how you deal with it and adapt. And everybody had to adapt immediately to being sheltered in. And then we had to come back. Everybody came back, not just in basketball, but across the globe. When people started to come back, there were so many conditions and protocols that it just sort of took you out of any kind of comfort zone that you were used to. And, you know, now when you look back 14 months later and everybody's coming out of their caves and coming back into the office or starting to make plans to go on vacation or to do things, there's a hesitancy. And so I think one of the biggest things that we missed, and I wrote Andre a note the other day, and I almost apologized to him from the standpoint that when we traded for Dre and Jay Crowder and Solomon Hill, they arrived here around February the 25th, last year, and then they were sheltered. We were sheltering in on March the 11th, and then they were gone for like 2 months. We're doing Zoom things and all those one man, one coach, one mask, walkthroughs and things of that nature. So the biggest thing that we lost, and I said to Jay, I wish that you could have come to one of our Christmas parties, or you could have come to, the family festival, or a number of the team dinners, events, or things that we do in this organization and out in the community through, through our business operations and everything, exactly what it's like, because we lost the connection, a real connection. And I'm not using that as an excuse, but I think everybody sort of got a little bit disconnected. And then when you start getting around the same people you knew for years and years and years, it's a little bit awkward, from that standpoint. So now it's going to be back, I hope, to normal, somewhat next year. When the season starts, everybody's got more than enough time off to recharge the batteries. And then when we come back, I'm sure there's going to be some COVID protocols still, but they won't be as draconian as they were. We'll see what they are, but I think we're on to bigger and better things. But to answer your question specifically, I missed hanging out with everybody. I miss being together with them. I miss the parties. I miss the fun. I miss all the things we do as a team that some of our guys really didn't get to see.
Next, we bring back Tim Reynolds.
Pat, kind of along those lines, and it's not just a heat issue, obviously. Do you think this season was joyless in that guys had to go back to their arenas and test at 11 o'clock at night if you're playing a day game, or test in the hotel at 8:30 when you land at 3 o'clock, and you couldn't do the parties? I mean, do you think, I know it's nice now seeing the playoffs and buildings are filled, and you had a couple of those, obviously, and that's great. But was this a joyless season league-wide, not just everywhere?
Yeah. Well, I think it became common knowledge and all of the narratives and rhetoric out there about the pandemic and how hard it was on everybody. You have to keep things in perspective. As I said at the top of this session, it doesn't make any difference what happens to you, it's how you deal with it. And so, yeah, it was difficult at times, but there's no way to joy. Joy is the way. There's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. There's no way to success. Success is the way, and you have to go through those experiences enough to really feel that. So if it was a joyless experience for a lot of people in the NBA, then somewhere they didn't make the right changes or adapt to the things they had to adapt to get some joy out of it. You always have great joy when you win. If you don't win, there's misery. And then if you don't win and there's misery and you got a test and you got to come in at 11 o'clock at night, then it gets hard. And so let's put all that behind us and put it in the past, because, today is the present moment and our future is waiting. and I hope it's a lot brighter than it was with what we showed last week.
And one basketball follow too. This was Malik was in a new role. Karan was in a new role. Just how did you sort of evaluate where they are right now in the growth process as they are, well, Malik's been on this coaching journey, but Karan in particular, how did he handle year one, do you think?
I think both of them are great basketball people. Malik is an experienced coach now. Karan is somebody who I think's got greatness in him from a DNA standpoint, basketball standpoint, a life spent in adversity and in greatness standpoint, has a lot to offer from that standpoint. So both of those guys, I think, did a great job. As I mentioned, last year, after the finals, I was ecstatic, for all of them and our coaching staff and the training staff, weight training staff, our nutritionists, our analytic, everybody that you talked about that might not have had some joy. I just thank all of them because they did a hell of a job, and I want all of them to come back fresh and reinvigorated and ready to go, regardless of what's in front of us from that standpoint. So, we just got a great group of people here. I love them to death.
So we're listening live here to Pat Riley, his postseason presser. How about this quote? "There is no way to joy. Joy is the way." My God, Pat is so freaking smart. Here's more of Pat Riley. Listen to it live here on Onside Radio.
Because they occurred in the bubble. How would you answer that sort of narrative that's out there?
Well, I wouldn't have ever tweeted out something like that. But and I don't know who gets credit for that tweet or whatever. We were the best team other than the Lakers last year. And we ended up in the finals, whether it was the bubble or any place else. And so, I take pride in the fact that people will say that the Heat and its culture were best suited for the disciplines needed in the bubble. And if that's the case, then fine. Then we had a little bit of an edge. I don't think that's solely the reason, but we had some meltdowns in the bubble. It wasn't easy. But I do recall the competitiveness in those games. And most of the games that we won, with the exception of a few, were 1 or 2 or 3 possession games, in the last 5 minutes. They're clutch games, and somewhere, we made a shot that would always put us a possession or 2 ahead, and we end up getting wins. I remember the shot that Duncan had, I think, in game 1 against Milwaukee in the overtime game. I think we were ahead 1 under a minute, and on the right side of the court, he got wide open for a 3. He got a great look at a 3, and he missed it. And that would have put us up 4, 2 possession game. We could have got out of there with a win, but sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. And so what happened to us last year in the bubble was last year, and what happened to us this year is what happened this year, and we'd have to deal with those circumstances. So I don't look at that as a slight, but when people want to jump on it and say something negative about it, then that's their problem. That's their issue.
All right, Coach, that's it. Thank you very much for joining us.
I go back to who's the person that asked me about Jimmy Butler asking for advice, and I want him to give me a max contract. Who's the one that asked that question?
I don't recall.
I was kidding, obviously, right? I just want to make sure that's not the headline tomorrow. You all have a good year, okay? Have a good summer, and there'll be a lot of news coming along the way. But again, just the last shout out to our fans and to everybody is that we'll be back.
Thank you.
So that was Pat Riley, year-ending presser. A lot to digest from that, my friends. He answered tons of questions there. Now, I did notice that That one was a little shorter than some of the Pat Riley postseason addresses from years past, and I think it has a lot to do with the protocols of people asking questions on Zoom, not being in the room with him, because that only clocked in at about, I think he started a few minutes after the top of the hour, so it clocked in at like 43, 44 minutes. I have heard Pat Riley year-end addresses that have been closer to the 90-minute mark, where he's really held court and talked for a long time. So, relatively speaking, man, Riley kept it short and sweet there. Went over a lot of stuff, on the salary cap. Our plan last year, he said, was to preserve room. We're going to have a lot of room if we want to use that. Now, I'm hoping that they're able to use that on somebody like a Kawhi Leonard. If I could start to get my hopes up a little bit on that. Riley said, and of course, people have to remember and understand, he can't specifically mention prospective free agents by name because that's tampering. So I can talk all I want to about somebody like Kawhi Leonard maybe coming in here. Pat cannot, say his name at this time. That is something he's got to keep on the down low, and you've got to hope that it plays out properly behind the scenes because he cannot be found guilty of tampering. That would not be good for us. So when he talked about what sort of player he wants to come in to Heat culture, he says, got to get talent and character in here. So we have more to digest. If you guys, anything you want to chat about, make sure you get at us on YouTube. Just go to our live YouTube feed, join in the live chat. Had some nice traffic in here during the Riley presser. A lot of comments in the YouTube chat. You can also text us at 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. So we'll go over more of what Pat Riley had to say. By the way, for those looking for Heat content, we're going to have a lot of Miami Heat content on the show today. At 5:35, we're going to talk with Ira Winderman from the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. Ira normally on Thursdays joins us at 3:20, but if you were listening, you heard Ira was very active asking Pat questions, and Ira has to do some writing for about the next, 105, 110 minutes or so. So he's going to join us at 5:35 to break down everything Riley had to say today and what it means for the future of the Miami Heat. But we'll continue to digest when we come back. You are listening to the only locally owned sports station in South Florida. We are OnsideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You're listening to the home of Inter Miami CF.
His strike is a decent one. It's fired into the top right corner. Gonzalo Higuain opens his account for Inter Miami.
OnsideRadio.com, where the passion for La Rosa Negra runs deep.
Inter Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at dangerousmindsbrewing.com.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
When protecting your family is your priority, there's nothing more important than the roof above the people you love. At Onside Radio, we recommend Chase Roofing and Contracting. At chaseroofing.com, they care about the customer. Chase Roofing provides reliable roof installation and repair without the destruction to our environment. Chase Roofing is powered by Tamara, who is owner and operated for 18 years. chaseroofing.com is Google top rated and a AAA standing with the Better Business Bureau. Open 24/7. Call them today. Trust chaseroofing.com to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station.
In their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie. So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the only sports station in South Florida that likes to take your calls. 888-441-4623. We connect with a South Florida sports fan because we are South Florida. Locally owned and operated. 888-441-4623. OnsideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line. 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Y'all, for anybody who missed it, when the Hour 1 podcast goes live here shortly after Hour 1 ends, Alex Aguirre is going to have it pumped out to all the podcast platforms. You can go back and listen to Pat Riley's postseason news presser in its entirety. Some of the quotes and topics that stood out to me, and he went through a lot, as he does every year. Our plan last year was to preserve room. We're going to have a lot of room if we want to use that. I hope they want to use it. He says, got to get talent and character in here. Character, a.k.a. culture. Riley was asked about Jimmy Butler potential max extension. That's been written about a lot. He acknowledged the fact that it's been really in the media, but according to Riley, that's not something that has been discussed. Doesn't mean it won't be. But, you know, there's been a lot of writing and a lot of chatter. We've talked about it here on this show, whether they should be giving Jimmy a max extension that'll take him through age 36. If that's a good idea, I don't know if it is a good idea unless that's the only way to solidify other superstars coming in. Like if Kawhi Leonard wants to play with Jimmy and would feel better about coming here if Jimmy was locked in for 4 years rather than 2 more years, then okay, that's the cost of doing business. That's the tax you have to pay. That is the Kawhi tax or the tax for whatever other superstar you want to bring in. Outside of that, I don't know. Pat Riley referred to Tyler Hero as a quote-unquote core player. I disagree. However, I would not expect Riley to talk Hero down when that's a player who could have trade value. Now, the evidence, the actions from Riley, how many trades he's held Hero out of, would indicate that Riley really does believe that Hero is a core player. I think we can all acknowledge he had a sophomore slump. Whether that's just a bump in the road or if that's kind of who he is, we're yet to find that out. But, yeah, I'm not expecting Riley, when asked about Hero, to trash him and saying, oh, he was terrible this year. I wish he endorsed fewer cereals and Chipotle bowls and focused more on basketball. No, he's not going to say that. He's going to refer to him as a core player because Riley either believes in Hero as a part of Heat culture or he believes in Hero as a trade asset. He referred to Hero as an exceptional ball handler. On Victor Oladipo, sounds to me like this is a non-endorsement, and I'm happy because I don't want to bring the glass man back. I don't. He said, we knew there was a risk when we made the trade, and the risk was he only played in 4 games. Riley said he'll be rehabbing with us. Of course, the Heat are responsible for his rehab, and he says, we'll see what happens when we sit down in August. That doesn't sound to me like Oladipo's going to be back, and I'm glad. Riley says, I'm ready to roll forward and trying to make this thing better. He says he's getting ready. This was when Riley was asked by Ira about his future. Ira Winderman is masterful because Ira asked Riley one of the toughest questions, which is basically a really polite way of asking, are you thinking about retirement? But the way that Ira eased into and finessed that question, I thought was brilliant, right? Because Ira basically said, like, hey, Pat, you found the fountain of youth. You look like you're 30, not 76. Like, he really, buttered him up, which is kind of the way you have to go into a question like that. And, then asked him about his short-term and long-term future. And Riley, he said he's getting ready for the Combine. He's getting ready for Summer League. So, Riles is not walking away. Not anytime soon. This is interesting, the way that Pat closed out the presser. There will be a lot of news over the summer, he said. Oh, really? A lot of news over the summer. And then his last shout-out was, we'll be back. Okay. Now, could that be Riley hinting? And if you connect the dots, okay, he talked about having a lot of flexibility, a lot of money under the cap. They only have a handful of players under contract. They're going to have money to spend if they choose to spend it. Do you think when Riley says there will be a lot of news over the summer, we'll be back, that he's hinting, brace yourselves, my friends, we're planning on doing something big? I take it that way. I do take. Do you feel the same way, Alex Aguirre? Because it's not like Riley every summer talks about, oh yeah, we're going to do something big this summer. Because there have been summers where Riley has basically said, no, we're keeping this core together. We're not changing anything. When I hear Riley says there will be a lot of news over the summer, we'll be back, that makes it sound like he's going to be aggressive.
Yeah, I'm sure he was disappointed in the way he handled last offseason, and with Mo Harkless and Avery Bradley headlining your offseason. That's not the Pat Riley way. He's very aggressive in the offseason, likes to go after veteran players, and I think he's going to, in a way, redeem himself, because I feel like he's competitive still in his role with the Miami Heat, and he wants, like I said before last week, I feel like before he does hang up the cleats, and when it's all said and done, I feel like he wants to give the Miami Heat one last go at it, one actually solid team that can make a run at a finals, not just 1 year like they did last year, but a competitive contending team that can go after a title for the next 4 or 5 years. I think Pat Riley wants to build that before it's all said and done.
Riley, he's like a prize fighter who does not want to retire after taking a loss. He wants to retire after a W, not an L. You're 100% right. Like, Pat does not want to walk away or ride off into the sunset until he knows he's got a foundation in place for championship success. Like, really. Marla texts in, when you refer to not bringing Oladipo back, the truth is the guy was never here. Essentially, 4 games, it's like if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? That's really what the Victor Oladipo era was about. Like, only 4 games. Did it really even happen? But the bottom line is they did trade for him, and, they did pay him money, more money than he deserved. I wish they could only pay him for the 4 games played, is the bottom line. So, yeah, I could see why you would say it's like the Oladipo era never really happened, but it kind of did. And there's actually a few people who want Riley to bring him back at a discount. I say stay far, far away. I don't want any part of that. Our friend Gina is aboard on the text line. The Donno Show, she says, I haven't texted lately. I'm in the middle of a big event at work, but I'm always tuned in, and as always, great show. Well, Gina, whatever the big event is, I hope it's going really, really well. Event season, my friends. We have Mayweather versus Paul this week. We got now. How come my guy Abel is calling me right now as if I'm not on the air? I know he's down He's down at a press event for Tyron Woodley. All right, we're going to get the 4 o'clock hour officially started when we return. Keep it locked right here to the only locally owned sports station in South Florida. We are OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You're listening to the home of Inter Miami CF.
His strike is a decent one. It's fired into the top right corner. Gonzalo Higuain opens his account for Inter Miami.
OnSideRadio.com, where the passion for La Rosa Negra runs deep.
Inter Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at dangerousmindsbrewing.com.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
When protecting your family is your priority, there's nothing more important than the roof above the people you love. At Onside Radio, we recommend Chase Roofing and Contracting. At chaseroofing.com, they care about the customer. Chase Roofing provides reliable roof installation and repair without the destruction to our environment. Chase Roofing is powered by Tamara, who is owner and operated for 18 years. chaseroofing.com is Google top rated and a AAA standing with the Better Business Bureau. Open 24/7. Call them today. Trust chaseroofing.com to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. You're listening to this station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com, broadcasting from South Florida to the world.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Just keep it right here.
You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
4 o'clock hour officially underway here on OnSideRadio.com. You can listen to us live right there, onsiteradio.com, or if you go to our website, there's a big list of mobile apps, free mobile apps you can download onto your smartphone and take us wherever you go. You can also watch us streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch and partake in the YouTube chat. Man, Mike No Go Zones is he's making that YouTube chat lit. He said, Alex, I just saw something on Twitter about Messi going to Inter Milan. I would highly doubt that this summer, Mike. Inter Milan, the budget is pretty stretched right now. There were actually rumors a summer ago about Messi potentially to Inter Milan when Messi was really unhappy at Barcelona. And it looked like he was going to leave. I mean, it always, the links, I think, were strongest. If he was going to leave, the links were strongest to Man City to rejoin Pep Guardiola. But unless I just missed like a bombshell that just dropped a few minutes ago, I would be beyond shocked if there was like a substantive Messi link to Inter Milan. In fact, I think over the next couple of years, it's probably more likely we see Messi at Inter Miami than at Inter Milan. Unless Don Garber finds some way to like exclude Inter Miami as a possibility, because Major League Soccer, I feel, hates us. But I honestly, I think that it's probably more likely that in a couple of years, Messi would end his career in Inter Miami than would go this summer to Inter Milan. I would be beyond shocked because they need to cut costs. They don't need to be adding someone like Messi who makes like $70-80 million, or sorry, not even dollars, euros, which are more valuable than dollars. How dare they? How dare these Euro scum make their money more valuable than ours? And yeah, Lucho Lalo, how about the rumors for Inter Miami in 2 years? Yeah, that. I would not exclude that because we know we have a market that attracts superstars, especially Latin American superstars. He's Argentinian, as we all know, and we also have ownership that is very, very ambitious. And, yeah, Lucho also points out Major League Soccer hates us. We will probably get penalized for being the sickest team. Yeah, if Messi came here, even if they were following all the budget rules, they would still find a way to punish us. Like Major League Soccer, they hate us because the difference is back years ago when the Los Angeles Galaxy used to break rules to bring in expensive players, MLS would just change the rules to accommodate Galaxy. Like if Galaxy broke rules, MLS would say, okay, well now the rules are different because we need to make sure to allow this. Inter Miami allegedly breaks rules and they try to throw the book at us. So there's a lot of hatred there. It's really, really not fair the way that we get covered. So how do you like that? We carried Pat Riley's postseason presser right here on Onside, and he closed with, there will be a lot of news over the summer. We'll be back, Riley said. God, I hope that at some point in the next couple of years, we can usher in another golden era of Heat basketball. We've had a few of those here in this town. I would love to know from you guys on the YouTube chat or on the text line at 844-416-8123. What's your favorite era of Heat basketball? I know a lot of people will say the Big Three era. That was when we were the most Hollywood and the most talked about and the most relevant. I mean, during the Big Three era, you had ESPN.com create an entire page devoted to Heat talk. Remember the Heat Index? Do you remember that? My guy Mike Wallace worked for the Heat Index. He wrote for them. Tom Haberstroh was writing for the Heat Index. You know, what the heck is Brian Windhorst? Brian Windhorst, who basically follows LeBron wherever he plays. You know, he had covered LeBron in Cleveland, then he came down to cover LeBron with the Miami Heat. Like ESPN had an entire page just devoted to Miami Heat talk. So that was the most Hollywood era. That was the era where they won the most titles. That wasn't my favorite era, though, of Heat basketball. And I don't even know if you can call this one an era, but you know, the couple of years, I thought 05 and 06, which culminated in 06, winning the first championship in the franchise's history, the early part of Dwayne Wade's career. That was so much fun. Shaquille O'Neal was a lot of fun. I know that the Shaq era was more brief than it should have been. If only he had kept his body in a little bit better shape. You know, if he hadn't turned into Fat Shaq at the end. Because you remember when Shaq first got here in 05, 04, 05, he was in maybe the best physical shape of his career for that first season here. He was so motivated. He had the fallout with Kobe in Los Angeles, where they decided this town is only big enough for Kobe or Shaq, and they made the right decision. They chose Kobe over Shaq, so Shaq got traded to Miami, and he was so motivated, guys. He got into the best physical shape of his life, and that first year, he was so dominant. Should have won the MVP the first year. But then the second year, when Dwayne Wade was in his, it was the third season for Dwayne Wade when the Heat won the title, how dominant D. Wade got. Alonzo Mourning came back that year and helped the Heat win a championship. I mean, I think that was, I mean, it was brief. I'm only talking about a couple of years, but I thought that was my favorite era for Heat basketball. The era that I'm most nostalgic for, though, I can't call it the best era because you didn't get any hardware out of it. But, man, I'm so nostalgic for the late 90s because that was, like, we're talking when I'm 12, 13, 14 years old. You know, that year that the Heat got to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Chicago Bulls. They got their butts kicked. They got beaten in 5. But that was so big to me at the time when I was, I think, 12 or 13 years old when that happened. The Heat had never gotten that far before. They'd never gotten to the conference finals before. You know, they went up against the Michael Jordan freight train, so you knew they weren't getting through that series. But that team in those years were so much fun with Alonzo Mourning in his prime, Timmy Hardaway, all those brutal playoff series they had with the New York Knicks. And the Knicks, that was the last time the Knicks were relevant. They had our number at that point. They would get the better of the Heat in most of those playoff series, but it was still so much fun. The early days of Pat Riley, and, you know, you had the whole part of the whole rivalry with New York was the New Yorkers despise Riley because he resigned over facts. Pat the Rat, they called him. So there was so much bitterness to that rivalry. I think that was probably the most nostalgic period for me of Heat basketball because I was just getting into my teenage years at that time in the late 90s. It was so much fun. I also have a lot of fondness for, like, the very early 90s, like 91, 92, 93. That was when I first started to really get into basketball. I mean, I was alive when the Heat franchise was created in 88, 89, but I was born in 84, so I didn't really start getting into it until the early 90s. And, you know, you're talking about the Ronnie Cycli years, Glenn Rice, you know, the Harold Miner hype, Baby Jordan. Didn't pan out that way, but winning a dunk contest, that dude was fun to watch at times. Going to some games at the American Airlines Arena back in those days. So that's up there with my nostalgia. But I thought for me, nostalgia-wise, the late 90s was really the ticket for me. And then I thought, to me, the best era of Heat basketball was right around that first championship. But I would venture to guess that a lot of the Heat fans you interact with, you know, whether it be people you meet on the street or people you interact with on social media, they probably would say the Big Three era. It's also a generational thing. Like, if you talk to somebody, like, in their 20s or in their teens, you know, they don't remember a whole lot of the stuff that came before that. You know, we got Alex Aguirre here in his mid-20s. I mean, Alex, I talked about a few of the best eras, like the golden eras of Heat basketball. And, like, for me, you know, the couple of years when Shaq and Wade were together, you know, 05 and then winning the title in 06 was probably my favorite era. Even, like, the year before Shaq got here with Lamar Odom and Caron Butler and Wade together, that was a lot of fun. If I can group that into the same era, that was great. You know, I love the late 90s with the bitter rivalry with the Knicks. Now, you're a decade younger than me. So for you, would you say is the Big Three era, is that your favorite era of Heat basketball, or is there another era you would point to and say, yeah, that's my jam?
I mean, I started watching the Heat when I was like 5 years old.
Nice.
So I remember Eddie Jones.
Oh,
Lamar
good for you.
Odom, you know, Caron Butler, Rafer Alston, his first stint with the team.
Oh, Skip to Malou.
Exactly. You know, so yeah, the 06 era was a good year, but for me, the Big Three era was the golden year because it was all 4 years competitive. You know, the 06 team was such a small window, a bunch of old guys already on that team. Riley put that team together just to, you know, for about a year. You know, because the year before, I think, in my opinion, was a better team, the 04-05 team.
Yeah, that team was awesome.
It was, I think, on record-wise and on paper, I think it was a better team.
Yeah, that's right.
And, so it was a small window. That was fun. The late 90s, I wasn't around
You were
for
too
it,
young, yeah.
But I just don't think that was, that team and that whole era gets overshadowed by a lot better teams in the 90s. Obviously, Michael Jordan, the Utah Jazz. Even in the East, the Knicks were better than them. They showed they couldn't. The Heat, at the end of the day, the Heat were a first-round exit for practically 4 years straight in the late 90s. I hate to say to all the older fans out there, but, you guys couldn't get past the first round. At the end of the day. And Alonzo, I feel like, I'm not saying that it was overhyped, that era, because Michael Jordan was in that way. But at the end of the day, they don't have much to show with all those wins. And that era reminds me a lot of the Atlanta Hawks with Mike Budenholzer. Great regular season teams, and then they disappoint in the first round and the second round of the playoffs. They couldn't get over that hump. That's why I don't really think, it's a shame. It's a shame because those teams were good, especially the 97 team, the Road Warriors team. So, but
and that was the one team that did get far because they got to the Eastern Conference Finals.
And they lost in 5 to the Bulls.
Right.
And, so that was the one good year of that 4 or 5 year stretch with Hardaway and Zoe. And I feel like that's been an unfortunate theme with this franchise in the Big Three era, is that they have these windows and they don't capitalize on them, especially only in 06. And finally, they finally put together something greater than that in the Big Three era. And that's what I'm saying. Pat Riley's just trying to do something, trying to have one more good era before he calls it quits. And that's what he's trying to do. But the golden era, there's been a few. I think 06, that stretch, and the Big Three era. I don't count the late 90s because they didn't accomplish anything at the end of the day. They put the Miami Heat on the map. That's the one thing I would say they accomplished.
That was just nostalgia for me. And it was it was all relative because at that point, the Heat had never won a championship. Before 97, they had never even gotten as far as the conference finals. Right. So that was a new milestone. And so it's it was new money. We didn't really, have anything to compare it to.
Exactly.
Because nowadays the franchise has won 3 championships. Heat fans can be disappointed about a second-round exit.
One era that gets overshadowed a lot in Heat history is the post-LeBron era of the couple years when D Wade was still here in Miami.
I call that the culture era.
Yeah, I like that team a lot. That 2015-2016 team, that lost in the second round against the Raptors. I feel like if Chris Bosh never had the blood clots, and he was still healthy, I feel like they could have had maybe another good 2 years before Wade, obviously started deteriorating quickly. But, the 2014 to 2016, before they literally dismantled everything, they went 11-30 in that 2016 season. But that little 2 year stretch, if Chris Bosh did not get hurt, or not hurt, but his health didn't, compromise him, I feel like they could have made a run to the Eastern Conference Finals that year in 2016.
Yeah, I agree.
A goal against LeBron James, and I feel like they could have had a chance against the Heat. Had that size, which was the Achilles heel for the Cavs that year. They had Whiteside and Bosh going up against Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson. Come on now. And then Heat had Luol Deng and other pieces to throw at.
Yeah, I almost forgot about Luol Deng.
They had a couple pieces to go after LeBron James. Luol Deng, Justice Winslow, Josh Richardson, D. Wade. They had pieces to go against that team. It's just one of those what ifs, but against the Raptors. But the golden era for the Heat in the last 20 years has to be that Big Three because of the amount of success. The 06 was fun and it was amazing and it was the first, and you can never forget the first. But for me, the Big Three was the best.
When you mentioned not maximizing windows, I could argue they should have won more than 2 championships during the Big Three era.
They should have won 3.
That's actually if you just measure based on how good that team was, 2 championships. I'm not going to call it a failure because I'm not an idiot. I'm not Skip Bayless, so it's not a failure. But it wasn't good enough. 2 championships. They should have won 3 titles. They should have beaten the Mavericks, right? I can't really say a whole lot about the San Antonio Spurs series in 2014 because the Spurs they were on something different in that series. But the Mavericks, that was a choke job by LeBron James in that first series together. 844-416-8123 is the number. Remember, later this hour, 4:35, we're going to be joined by Kyle Krabs from DolphinsWire.com and the Draft Network. I'm really looking forward to talking with Kyle. He wasn't on with us last week, so I've got 2 weeks worth of questions to ask the dude. This is pretty interesting. Tua Tagovailoa, some insight that his trainer gave on his health last year. We'll get to that and more when we come back. You're listening to Man of the Match here on Onside Radio. Make sure you guys know you can take advantage every single week throughout the week. Ira Winderman from the South Florida Sun Sentinel joins us for the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report. And Ira's going to be on with me in a little over an hour, 5:35 p.m. Ira's going to join me to help digest everything the Godfather Pat Riley had to say today. So you can hear Ira on every show throughout the week on the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report right here on OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can connect with us at OnSideRadio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. Save it on your cell phone, 844-416-8123. No better place to send your comments, ask questions, win prizes. OnSideRadio.com, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. If you missed Onside Zone with Big O, you missed.
She's kind of young, so I don't know. She may not be into Van Halen much. Let's see. Hey, Ruthie, good afternoon. Are you a Van Halen fan?
You know, I just had to Google Van Halen. I'm not going to lie to you. I just literally have it on my computer right now.
The Onside Zone with Big O. Weekdays 11 to 1 p.m. Only on OnSideRadio.com.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodyAsDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody Ass family. Dr. Moody Ass is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyHouseDental.com.
Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., listen to Red Card Radio with Austin Robillard, brought to you by Stout Bar and Grill in Oakland Park. With over 40 TVs, Stout is a home for soccer around the world. Stout Bar features Clonakilty Whiskies, the world's best Irish whiskey.
Inter Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at DangerousMindsBrewing.com.
Fish fans, time to reel in the latest news.
ADHD. It's the child who can't pay attention or sit still in school, right? The answer may be yes. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, can be complicated and it can last a lifetime. Living with a condition can sometimes be a challenge. It may take years to accept a formal diagnosis, and it's not always easy to find the right treatment plan. Did you know that up to 75% of children and adolescents with ADHD have at least one additional mental health condition that also requires a comprehensive approach to treatment? ADHD guidelines were recently updated to reflect the need to screen for associated disorders. Be sure to talk with your child's doctor about proper screening and visit more2adhd.com for additional information. That's more2adhd.com. This message has been brought to you in partnership with ADA, ACO, and CHAD.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
You can vote on my Twitter poll. Follow me on Twitter at Alex Donno. Donno spelled D-O-N-N-O. Just put this out there a few seconds ago. What's your favorite era of Heat basketball? And then I add, if other, comment. But the four choices I could put on the poll were Big Three era, Wade, Shaq, first title era, late 90s, or early days of expansion. So if you're on Twitter, go on there and vote, vote, vote. Mikey No Go Zones asked me, Alex, do you have any money action on the international soccer matches today? Not today. Here's what happened to me. I'm so stupid. I really am. So I'm going through, I need to reload my account because I've been taking so many L's lately. I only had a little bit left in the account today. I got to reload it later. And I'm looking through to see when the next matchup is for the Azzurri, the Italian national team. And when I'm looking it up on my sports book, I see June 4th, they're playing an international friendly. It's a tune-up for the Euros. The Euros start on the 11th of June. So they're playing like a Euros tune-up match against the Czech Republic on June 4th. And so I emptied the very little money that I had left in my account. I emptied it on the Azzurri. And then I realized like a half an hour later, today's not the 4th. I thought it was today. So it's not that it makes a huge difference because, you know, maybe the odds will get worse tomorrow. So I locked in the bet now for tomorrow. But the long and the short of it, Mike, is I do not have any action on the international matches today because I'm such a dumbass. I thought tomorrow was today because I don't necessarily, unless I feel like I'm getting a big edge by betting something early, I don't usually lock in bets like more than, I don't know, 6, 7, 12 hours in advance, but I accidentally locked one in on the Italian national team over 24 hours in advance because I kept thinking today was June 4th, and it's only June 3rd. So I've got a little egg on my face today, but I am going to probably, what I'm going to do is, because I've been taking so many L's lately, I'm just going to let today elapse. Like, this is going to be like a cleanse, okay? This is going to be like one of those enemas that people use just to kind of clean out their system. I'm going to have a gambling enema today because I've been on such a cold streak lately. I'm just going to let today go by. Not going to bet on anything. I've got Italy versus Czech Republic at 2:45 tomorrow. I've already locked that in. And then tomorrow at 3:45, Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports is going to join us, and he usually gives us a really good mix. He'll probably give us a couple games to bet on tomorrow, a couple things, including there's a UFC event on Saturday. So I'm just going to avoid flushing my money down the toilet over the next 24 hours because I've been on such a cold streak that I'm just going to wait until Lee Sterling, who is my gambling consigliere, joins me again tomorrow. He's going to guide me in the right direction, and I'm going to lock in whatever Lee tells me to lock in. So yeah, I've got nothing on the international matches today. I do have a couple of hockey bets locked in for tonight. So it's really not much of a cleanse. It's really not much of a gambling enema. 844-416-8123 is how you get at us on the text line. That's 844-416-8123. Or you can watch us live on YouTube. Search for Onside Radio, subscribe to our channel, and you can get involved through the YouTube chat as well. So Tua Tagovailoa's trainer, this is pretty interesting. Kyle Krabs wrote about this in Dolphins Wire. Nick Hicks of Perform said you should expect a much better version of Tua in year 2 of his NFL career. Hicks spoke with Tyler Dunn for a showcase on Tua and his status as the Dolphins franchise quarterback entering the 2021 season. And the trainer's assessment of Tagovailoa's rookie year leaves plenty of upward growth. Quote, Hicks estimates Tagovailoa was, quote-unquote, 60% healthy as a rookie, writes Dunn. Although it's important to compartmentalize here and acknowledge that Tagovailoa was likely not near his physical peak, but that the Dolphins were likely not in the wrong to assess his health and deem him fit to play. There's a difference between medical health and fitness and peak athletic capacity after all. Quote, if your lower body is weak and it's not explosive and you feel asymmetry, throwing a football is not going to be pretty because throwing a football starts from the ground up, from the feet to the hip to the trunk to the shoulder to the hand. It's kinetic. It's a kinetic chain, he says. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be nerve-wracking. You're going to be very indecisive with each play called because you're worried about your body. Our goal was to eliminate that this offseason and build him into this strong, bulletproof athlete that can withstand the 17-game season. That was his trainer, Nick Hicks, via Tyler Dunn. That makes a lot of sense because even if the Dolphins training staff could assess Tua last year and say, you know, the hip injury is mended and he's not at like an unusual physical risk of re-injury if he goes out there and plays. So they could clear him. Like the training staff and the team doctors could clear him and say the hip is mended, it's healed enough, he can play without worry. that's not quite the same thing as being at peak fitness, right? Because peak fitness was where Tua was at before the hip injury. Peak fitness was when Tua had, the full form of his body, didn't have any weakness from the hip, and he could go through his throwing motion, it was pointed out so well in that quote when you talk about the kinetic chain going from the feet to the hip to the trunk to the shoulder to the hand. There are so many muscles and tendons and joints that have to collaborate for the split second that it takes to throw a football, that if anything is out of sync and if anything isn't fully fit, it's going to throw off the whole throwing motion. So, Tua may have been physically recovered enough last year that he could play, but it doesn't mean he was playing anywhere close to his peak ability. So that's pretty interesting for his trainer to say he estimates he was at about 60% last year. And, we had a conversation, and I encourage you guys, if you haven't already, to check out our podcast, Man of the Match. Search Man of the Match or search Alex Donno on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, any place you get your pods, and you'll find it. Had a great conversation with Alan Poupar from Sports Illustrated. I would say that Alan is a bit of a Tua skeptic, that Alan is not really sold. He had concerns about Tua coming out of Alabama, still has those same concerns about Tua today. And I wonder if Alan would hear something like that from Tua's trainer and think, you know what, maybe I'll be a little bit more open-minded about Tua having just an awesome sophomore campaign with the Dolphins. We still have to see it, right? We can talk as much as we want to. I can talk about how much more dangerous his weapons got. I thought there was a great quote from David Carr on Jalen Waddle that we read yesterday, where David Carr is so sold on Jalen Waddle that he believes Waddle is going to be the reason why Tua becomes a franchise quarterback next year, that Waddle is going to elevate the Dolphins' offense so much that it's going to help bring Tua's game to the next level. So we'll talk more about various Miami Dolphins goodness here with Kyle Krabs at Grinding the Tape. Kyle Krabs from the Draft Network and DolphinsWire.com is going to join us next here on Onside Radio. Hey, Saturdays from 1 to 3 p.m., baseball fans can go deep into the count with Alex Aguirre and Christian Chase. You can catch the show that talks Marlins and all the big stories in the major leagues. Every Saturday from 1 to 3, Seamheads have a new home. Listen to Deep Into the Count exclusively at OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can connect with us at OnSideRadio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. Save it on your cell phone, 844-416-8123. No better place to send your comments, ask questions, win prizes. OnSideRadio.com, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
When protecting your family is your priority, there's nothing more important than the roof above the people you love. At Onside Radio, we recommend Chase Roofing and Contracting. At chaseroofing.com, they care about the customer. Chase Roofing provides reliable roof installation and repair without the destruction to our environment. Chase Roofing is powered by Tamara, who is owner and operated for 18 years. Chaseroofing.com is Google top rated and a AAA standing with the Better Business Bureau. Open 24/7. Call them today. Trust chaseroofing.com to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Keeping you informed in the world of sports. With an OnSideRadio.com sports update.
The Toronto Blue Jays used a 3-run ninth inning last night to come back and beat the Miami Marlins 6-5. Emi Garcia got the loss and the blown save. The Fish head to Pittsburgh for a 4-game series with the Pirates. Eliezer Hernandez will get the start and his debut for the 2021 season tonight. Philadelphia 76ers moved on to the second round of the playoffs with a 129-112 victory over the Wizards. Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks beat the New York Knicks and eliminated them from the playoffs with a 103-89 win last night. The Utah Jazz took care of the Memphis Grizzlies 126-110, and the Dallas Mavericks took a 3-2 lead in their series against the LA Clippers after a 105-100 win. Tonight, the Denver Nuggets look to close out the Trailblazers. Tip-off is at 8, and at 10:30, the Phoenix Suns look to eliminate the defending champion LA Lakers. Duke University announced yesterday Coach K will retire after 41 seasons and 5 championships at the end of the 2021-2022 season. You're listening to the only locally owned South Florida sports talk station, and coming up is more of Man the Match with Alex Donno right here at OnSiteRadio.com.
Riddle me this. With all this sizzling meat and crunchy veggies nestled between toasty flatbread, who should get credit for Papa John's new papadilla? The person who invented pizza or the person who invented folding? Well, whoever it is, a tip of the tongue hat to you, sir or madam. Get a new papadilla, 4 flavors, just $6 each. Better ingredients, better pizza, better than a sandwich. Papa John's.
My daughter Brinley is here at St. Jude. Coming here was literally life or death, and it was so scary. But St. Jude is fighting for one goal, like this one mission, life. And that gave us hope. We haven't received a single bill from St. Jude, so I really can just focus on what's best for Brinley.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yo, our next guest is the Director of Scouting for the Draft Network, lead editor of DolphinsWire.com. I'm on that site every single day. I also listen to Locked On Dolphins, which is his daily pod on the Dolphins. He hosts Draft Dudes as well. Kyle Krabs joins us here on Onside Radio. Kyle, I hope you're having a great week, man. How are you and how's the family?
Hey, what's going on, Dono? I'm a little concerned about your choice in ice cream flavors, but other than that, things are pretty good on my end.
Yeah, so we got, and of course, anytime people on Twitter start arguing ice cream flavors, it's usually the fault of Tito Minach bringing something up on Twitter. But so if I have it straight, you're a big mint chocolate chip fan, right? Because I often slander mint chocolate chip. I just don't really get it. It's like combining chocolate with toothpaste. I don't know. I'm not a fan of mint chocolate chip. So that's one of your favorites,
I'm going to have to hang up, Alex. I'm going to have to hang up.
Nice talking to you, Kyle.
Yeah, good talking to you. I'll talk to you next week.
Oh, man. So, yeah, so out of that ice cream flavors list, I mean, listen, I selected my favorite on that list on Twitter. I went with chocolate chip cookie dough. Are you not a fan of that?
No, listen, it's a first-round ice cream flavor, but it's not a top 10 overall pick like mint chocolate chip. That's just my perspective on it. And like scouting, it's all objective, right? So you got different opinions, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I don't think your eye for the beholder is very strong. That's all.
Yeah, see, I kind of feel like it's the Ryan Leaf of the first round when I'm thinking mint chocolate chip. It's how I look at that. But
number 2 overall, though.
There you go. That's a good point. We can agree on that. Whether we agree on the scouting report or not, it certainly is there. Oh man. Speaking of scouting reports, I thought that this was pretty interesting. Actually, I was just talking about this on the air. You wrote about this at DolphinsWire.com, how one of Tua's trainers, Nick Hicks of Perform, and he went into a really great explanation on kind of the kinetic chain that goes into the throwing motion of a quarterback, and he estimated that Tua last year was only at about 60% in terms of his condition and his fitness. So I wanted to ask you, Does that match what you saw from Tua? Because you watched him very closely at the college level before his hip injury at Alabama, and so when you watched, his kinetic chain and his throwing motion with the Dolphins as a rookie, does what you saw match what Nick Hicks had to say?
Well, I definitely think the arm lacks some of the juice that you were expecting, and nobody's going to sit here and say that Tua Tagovailoa had a cannon for an arm or one of the top strongest arms in college football coming out, but he definitely was missing a little something on those throws. It never mind what I watched in studying to it, and I think the 2018 version of the Alabama offense is a really good reflection of what Tua can do pushing the ball vertically. When you think about Mike Locksley, who's now the head coach there at Maryland, that offense was very much more vertically oriented as compared to what we saw the Steve Sarkisian offense look like, which had some more West Coast concepts that were tied into it. But Tua, in his own press conference, everybody was dialed in on what he said about the playbook last week. But at the same time, he himself said, my sequencing and my delivery, it feels much more fluid, and it's much more like a golf swing where it starts from the ground up, and didn't necessarily have that at maximum capacity last year. But I think the big disclaimer here that I think is worth mentioning is one of the big questions and reactions to that was if he was 60%, why the Dolphins playing him if he's 60%. And I think there's a difference between being medically cleared and being not at risk for further injury, but that missed time that he missed in training to be at his peak physical condition was the difference, and weighing out his ball security versus Fitzpatrick's and getting him some experience to work for this year. I think there's a lot of variables at play, but I saw some people raise their eyebrows and wow, the Dolphins played Tua and he was approximately, according to his trainer, at 60%. I don't think there was any negligence there on the Dolphins' part. That was just he's medically cleared, he's not at any further risk, but he didn't have that offseason to train and get better.
I agree, and that's a very important distinction to make. And I want to preface this next question by saying I'm expecting Tua to do well and improve. But I wanted to ask you a question that I get, and I hear it a lot, that, if Tua isn't good or great next year, could you see any scenario where if he's available, the Dolphins could go in, because I said the word back, I guess, is questionable because we really don't know what was going on behind the scenes, but could they go in for Deshaun Watson if he's still available and he gets through the legal trouble, or do you think that ship has sailed with the Dolphins?
Well, I don't think that ship will ever be completely written off until Watson finds a new team whenever that time is appropriate for that to happen. But I would never say never. You think about some of the non-emotional decisions that this franchise has made, including parting ways with Kyle Van Noy after just one season, and they care about results. They will make some calculated decisions that are what's best for the team. And if we get to the end of this next year and Tua Tagovailoa is still not showing that grasp of the playbook that maybe they're hoping that he would based on a full off season of work and throwing with his receivers, they've shown they're not going to be emotional about pursuing upgrades at every single position on the roster, no matter what that looks like. So if that is another quarterback and Deshaun Watson is cleared of whatever legal issues are currently still pending and we need clarity on, then I would certainly not say never. And I think the Dolphins building the roster the way that they had over the last 2 years has really positioned this team well to be able to make an aggressive splash, because they should feel really good about a lot of their roster. But that also kind of puts you on the clock and says, we got to make sure we're well aligned to win.
Yeah, the Dolphins do still have some cap room, I think $9 million under, and they've had some players in for visits. Do you think they could add in another notable name when I think about guys out there like Malik Hooker, Melvin Ingram, who's been in for a visit, Duke Johnson, Olivier Vernon, who's been on the team before? Do you think they might make an addition like that, or do you think they'll maybe wait to see if someone gets hurt during the season?
Yeah, I think they're going to need to make sure they're comfortable with who they have in what building, and they'll probably get some clarity with training camp. And, perhaps they're going to sit on, wait to see if somebody gets hurt or if somebody's still in the market and really just interested and engaged in finding a team. But I would certainly say based on that wiggle room and the Dolphins, more importantly, their ability to generate more, right? They got 12, 13 wide receivers on the roster. Some of those guys, Arlen Hearns, Jakeem Grant, Albert Wilson. Those are contracts that if you decide to move on from, because you've got young guys like Lynn Bowden Jr. and Malcolm Perry that you feel good about in the slot, and then obviously the new investments that you've made on the outside with the speed, you can part ways with some of those guys. You can manufacture another $7 million in cap space or so just on those three guys alone.
By the way, you mentioned some of those names there, like Alan Hearns, Jakeem Grant, Albert Wilson. Who out of those three do you think are back next year, and who do you think gets cut loose?
I think the one I had the hardest time seeing back is Hearns, and I know he gives you the least cap relief, but I just don't necessarily see him as somebody from a physical profile who's going to move the needle for you relative to Grant with the speed and Wilson with the agility that he has. And I think Wilson could be a really nice complement to the speed that they have to create more space in the horizontal spacing of the offense. It's just a question of, from a health perspective, what does he look like? He obviously missed last year, and he was looking like he was getting back from the hip injury that set him off in 2018, and the financial decisions as well, as if they feel as though there's more value to be had by bringing in somebody like Malik Hooker or somebody else.
We're joined here by Kyle Krabs, Director of Scouting from the Draft Network, lead editor of DolphinsWire.com. Kyle, shifting focus to the college ranks, of course, I'm a huge University of Miami fan, and I see every now and then, these draft stock reports for De'Aaron King, and I know maybe the most important thing for him right now is, his continued rehab and recovery from his torn ACL, and, everything we've heard, coming out of the program the last couple of months is he's ahead of schedule, he's doing great. So if we're to assume that he has a full recovery, and he is shorter. I mean, he's very mobile, but he is a shorter quarterback. What sort of draft prospects do you think De'Aaron King might have heading into next year?
I think he's going to have to show some improvement as a passer if he's going to generate some excitement in that capacity. I know that the game looks different these days for smaller quarterbacks than what it did before, and there's never been a better time to be a substitute quarterback coming out of the college ranks than right now. But when I watch De'Aaron, there's just some accuracy inconsistencies that you're going to have misses inevitably, but to have misses that are considered to be at the NFL level routine pitch and catch, I think he's going to have to answer that question first and foremost before teams really jump on board with, considering him as a potential high-priced quarterback prospect in the draft.
Fair enough. Kyle Krabs, awesome job. And by the way, Kyle, if I'm going based on the responses we're getting on the YouTube chat, people agree with you and not me on mint chocolate chip. So as far as the court of public opinion goes, you are winning this one, sir.
This is why I come on every week, to make sure that I can entertain these people with wonderful taste buds. I'm glad I can do my part, Alex.
I love it. So make sure you check Kyle out on Twitter at Grinding the Tape. You can listen to him on Locked On Dolphins and the Draft Dudes podcast, and you can check out his work at the Draft Network and DolphinsWire.com. Kyle, thank you so much, my friend, and enjoy your weekend coming up.
Thank you. You too, Alex. Have a good one.
Good stuff as always there from Kyle. Hey, Onside Radio understands gaming is a big part of the sports landscape. That's why every day we keep you updated with some of the latest gaming news with Onside Radio's E-Minute, hosted by Toast, Kai, and Michael Christian. If you miss it, it's podcasted daily. Search Onside Radio on all platforms. Subscribe, rate, and review. OnsideRadio.com, the station gamers call home.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. Get the brutal honesty every day with the Onside Zone with a big O from 12 noon to 3 p.m. every weekday on your home for sports talk in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com. When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
Can I get a captain?
Captain and what?
Captain and ginger.
I can't hear you.
Captain and ginger.
He was a captain and ginger, captain and ginger. He was a captain and ginger.
Captain Morgan, official partner of Major League Soccer.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
So the results so far of my Heat-related poll. What's your favorite era of Heat basketball? The Big Three era, the Wade, Shaq first title era, 05, 06 was basically that. And you know what? You can probably lump in 04 into that, even though that was before Shaq. Late 90s is a choice, which is, to me, what I would vote for, if they allowed me to vote on my own poll. They don't. But I would have voted for Wade, Shaq first title era, because there was just something so incredible, the feeling of getting your first championship. That could not be duplicated for me as a Heat fan. But I'm probably most nostalgic about the late 90s, right? I'm 13, 14, 15 years old when that's going on, like the thrill of and I know that the Heat were usually on the losing end of it, but the Knicks rivalry was tremendous. And then the fourth choice was early days of expansion, okay? And out of those four, the leader in the clubhouse, no surprise to me, because there are a lot of bandwagoners who probably don't remember anything before 11 years ago. The Big Three era is the leader in the clubhouse at 47.7%. And then you have the Wade, Shaq first title era at 33.1%, the late 90s at 16.2%, and the early days of expansion, just 3.1% of the vote. 130 votes have been cast so far. You can still vote. Carlos May Nazario responds the Michael Jordan era. Now, I think he's a Bulls fan. I know this dude. The response is invalid. The Michael Jordan era. You're a Bulls fan, bro. Smitty, who has LeBron James in his avatar, so this is probably a clue. He says 4 years of what felt like sweaty sex. The Big Three era was a drug. So I usually can't go long enough to get sweaty. So I don't know what sweaty sex feels like, to be quite honest. Sam Rubio, I agree with Sam. He says, nothing beats the 2006 run. Flash at its best. I'm with you. Better Duck writes in, Butler my corn. It's my favorite account on Twitter, but I don't know. I don't even know. The Jimmy Butler era, I guess. Oh, man. And Mike Hirsch writes, nothing can beat the Zoe and Hardaway days. Yeah, that's my most nostalgic. I would have voted for the 06 era, but my nostalgia definitely leans to the late 90s era. No freaking doubt about that, my friends. By the way, I saw a tweet that was kind of interesting from Cameron Magruder. So the situation, Lakers have to win tonight. Otherwise they're going to lose the series in 6. They got to win to force a Game 7. Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're doing the damn thing that they do where the Lakers-Suns game tonight starts at 10:30. How could you? How dare you? Now, I'm going to be up somewhat late because I have the extra show tonight. I'm hosting Fight Night with James Walker tonight from 7 to 9. So I'm not even going to be home until 10. And so, like, I'm going to be up, and I'm going to try to stay up for the entire game. It's going to go till probably close to 1 in the morning, and it's so much drama unless one of the teams is just absolutely smoking the other team. I'm going to be up for the entire game. But that's like cruel and unusual punishment for a game that big and that important to be happening at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And I don't care if they're playing in the West. Is the game in Phoenix tonight or in Los Angeles? I think the game is in Los Angeles, I believe, tonight. But like still, like it's not as if you can't get people to and I'm going to say pack, but it's California, so they probably let like 50 people in there. I mean, they're still basically locked down in California. I don't know how many people even go into their arena, but it's like, you could do the game at 5 o'clock local time, 5:30 local time. Start the game at 8:30, and you're going to maximize viewership. When we talk about the East Coast bias, do you know why the East Coast bias exists? Because over 50% of the United States population lives in the Eastern time zone. So anytime you hear these Californians or these hippies from Portland complaining about, bro, you got this East Coast bias, man. They don't cater to Cali and to Washington State and the West Coast, brah. Yeah, there's a reason why TV markets why television networks don't usually cater to the West Coast, because 50% of the population lives in the Eastern time zone. You got 4 time zones in this country, at least in the mainland of this country. You've got Pacific time zone, Mountain time, Central time, Eastern time, and 50% live in one of those 4 time zones. So of course they cater to us because there's so many more of us. And God, I don't want to have to stay up till 1 a.m. to watch the end of this goddamn basketball game. I'm going to do it because I want to watch LeBron fail. I mean, the Lakers probably win tonight, but do you think LeBron, does he actually stay in the arena for the full 48 minutes? Does he walk out with 5.5 minutes to go like he did the other night? These are questions we need answered, okay? But this was a good question by Cameron Magruder on Twitter. If the Lakers lose tonight, does it affect LeBron James' GOAT argument? Now, that's assuming you have a GOAT argument to begin with. I don't believe he's in Jordan's neighborhood. I mean, Michael Jordan to me. Now, LeBron is trying to pass Jordan by playing longer. Like, LeBron is going to try to play until he's 45 so he can get more championships than Jordan, because LeBron's thinking, hey, if I can take whatever supplements that I may be taking to and working out like a madman so I can be, like in a 30-year-old's condition when I'm 40 and I can play longer than Jordan did, eventually I'm going to pass Jordan. He's not fooling me. Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. LeBron is not going to pass Jordan. So if you talk about how this series affects LeBron's GOAT argument, to me, there's not an argument to begin with. Now, for anyone who thinks there's an argument, if LeBron goes down in the first round, then we should be calling the Lakers bubble frauds. If we're calling the Heat bubble frauds, the Lakers should be right there as well. And, yeah, I believe that should be affecting his GOAT argument if there even is an argument to begin with. But it's not going to happen because the LeBron James zombies, right, the other people who, like LeBron, are in bed with communist China are going to be defending him and defending his legacy. Like, well, dude, because the whole argument is, because whenever Jordan fans bring up that Jordan was 6 for 6 in the finals, the LeBron zombies will bring up, well, LeBron has played in 14 finals, even though he lost 80% of them. Look how many more times he's been to the finals. So they're just going to say, well, look at how many games LeBron has played. He got back to the playoffs. He's had more playoff appearances than Jordan had. The LeBron zombies will do whatever they can to justify that man's legacy. But to me, there's not even a GOAT argument to begin with that involves LeBron James. We're going to talk some Florida Panthers when we come back. Now, at 5:35, we'll talk more Heat with Ira Winderman from the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. He's going to recap everything Pat Riley had to say today. When we come back, Dave Dwork is going to help me recap everything Bill Zito had to say yesterday, the Florida Panthers general manager. Hey, Florida Panthers fans, you have a place to call home every Saturday as Cats insider Dave Dwork will host Chirping the Cats Radio. He's on every Saturday at 10 a.m. Onside Radio is committed to all sports. Panthers fans can now connect every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. with David Dwork on the home for Panthers fans worldwide, OnsideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodyAsDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody Ass family. Dr. Moody Ass is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyAsDental.com.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the Radio.net app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station.
Hey, what's up? It's Toast, and I've been telling you guys all about my buddies over at B&T Windows and Doors. And some of you said, hey, listen, Toast, I'd love to get PGT custom windows and doors installed, but funds are a little tight right now. No problem, bro. Y Green. You can finance it with B&T Windows and Doors through Y Green, so you can still get your PGT custom windows and doors installed. And yeah, you're not going to have to put anything down. It's awesome. That's the way I got mine installed. Call B&T Windows and Doors today. They'll tell you all about Y Green and how to finance your windows. 954-233-0126. That's 954-233-0126.
When you're tired of watching the sun damage your furniture or raise your electric bill, it's time to do what we did here at OnsideRadio.com studio. Call A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise. A Shade Above Window Fashions has a great selection of blackout shades to choose from. We can almost create a complete blackout for your bedroom or media room. Call them at 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A Shade Above Window Fashion.
Miami Dolphins fans can always count on the best coverage at OnsideRadio.com. Every week, keep up with your favorite team as Dolphins writer Omar Kelly joins us with exclusive reports. And when news breaks, catch the EJDConstruction.com Miami Dolphins report on the home for Dolphins fans everywhere, OnsideRadio.com. You're listening to the flagship station of Inter Miami CF, OnsideRadio.com. Follow us on social media at Onside Radio. The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inter Miami Marketing, LLC. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno.
It's all yours. Just keep it right here.
You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, 5 o'clock hour, Man of the Match on Onside Radio, broadcasting live from Drive Pink Stadium. I'm looking at those pink, black, gray, and white seats, just calling my name here in Fort Lauderdale. We bring in our very good friend, host of Chirping the Cats Radio, Saturdays from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. here on OnsideRadio.com. Does an awesome job covering the Florida Panthers. And I know that the offseason is upon us, but we had exit interviews the last couple of days. Bill Zito, the general manager, spoke, and I want to unpack a lot of that stuff here with Dave. Dave, good afternoon, man. Thank you for taking some time for us. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm not staring at any pink and gray and black seats, but, you know.
Well, hey, listen, you know, I know that you had a lot of compelling tweets yesterday about what Bill Zito had to say, and I'm such a huge Zito fan. What were some of your big takeaways? Like, I loved how he talked about the tone of the players and how excited they are to really build something special, you know, resuming again next year. I mean, how did you feel about Zito's tone, and what were some of the quotes that really stood out to you?
You know, what's interesting about Zito, and it's been this way with him from day one, the way he speaks to the media, is like he really takes his time, he pauses, he's deliberate, and you can tell that he's not thinking of like the right answer. He's thinking of giving you like an honest answer that he can come out and actually communicate, which is really nice. You know, as you mentioned, he talked about the tone during the exit interviews, which was interesting because while obviously they had a really good season, a very successful regular season, there's no real sense of satisfaction. Zito spoke of how basically to a man, all the players had a really bad taste in their mouth leaving, which they should. They're a really good team, and they got bounced after winning 2 games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
What my biggest takeaway, which is the first thing you asked me, is in past years the Panthers have had plenty of successful seasons. They've never had a successful run of seasons. They only made the playoffs in consecutive years twice, and that was in 96 and 97. That was a quarter century ago. So what really impressed me from Zito and the players was this feeling that they're not one and done. They're not going to come back next year, have a down year. Guys are going to struggle. They're not going to make the playoffs. Like, I feel like this was the beginning of something. I feel like it's sustainable. I feel like it's something that Zito and the players that he's brought in are building together. And in that way, I'm really excited to see kind of how it continues to develop into the offseason and into year 2.
I'd love your take on how you expect the dynamic at goalie to play out last year. We all have very high hopes for Spencer Knight, and, Sergei Bobrovsky, to put it politely, has had ups and downs since signing the big contract and arriving. So, I mean, do you think we might be looking at Knight as potentially the starter and Bob is a very expensive backup, or are they going to keep trying, to give Bob every chance to be the man? How do you think that's going to play out next year?
I would expect, at least early on, for them to give Bob, continue to give him a chance to live up to what we now know is probably not going to happen, which is this contract that he signed, with the reputation of the Vezinas and all that good stuff. And, unfortunately, he's just not playing at that level.
Yeah.
I do think they'll give him a chance because he's shown flashes. He's shown that, there's still skill there. But I think it's been 6 games with Spencer Knight, so you don't want to put the cart too far ahead of the horse there. But from everything you've seen, not just at the NHL level, but basically every level he's played at since, he became, a young prospect goaltender, whether it was junior, whether it was college, whether it was international, and now at the NHL level, he's been consistently spectacular. So it would, the Panthers would really be shooting themselves in the foot if they didn't go into training camp with at least the thought that Spencer Knight could be their best goalie on the roster, and that if that's the case, he deserves to play. I mean, Zito said, at one point he's even like, I can speak for Coach Q in that, they try to procure an environment where the best guy is going to play. The talent, the best guy for the job is going to play, not necessarily the biggest contractor, the biggest ego or whatever. So that being said, it would be crazy to think that they go into training camp and not at least give Spencer Knight an opportunity. At first, I would think a timeshare, but if the season kind of goes the way that this season ended, and Knight is outplaying Bobrovsky, and the team is playing better in front of Knight than in front of Bobrovsky, like, they're in the business of winning, Alex. And yeah. I think that's something that you've heard from Zito, you've heard from Q. And so it would be a huge disaster if that was the case. So I foresee, if you're asking for my opinion, if things continue on the path that they've been on this season, which I think they will, I think by next year All-Star break, Spencer Knight is the starting goaltender for the Panthers.
So I know which team Chris Driedger won't be on next year, and that's the Panthers. But where do you expect Driegs to land? Do you think he's going to be a Seattle Kraken, or do you have any idea where he might end up?
Seattle is intriguing because they need a goalie, and Driedger would probably come as a lesser expensive starting option if you're ready to hand the reins to him, which I'm sure some teams wouldn't mind doing. But there's a couple other teams. Like last night, Alex, I'm watching this amazing game between Colorado and Vegas, and I'm thinking to myself, Colorado is a ridiculously good team that is going to be in the market for a goaltender this offseason.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Chris Driedger going to a team like Colorado?
God, yeah, that'd be great for him.
So, I mean, there's going to be plenty of options, and I think for the fact that Driedger being that this is going to be his first real good contract that he's going to sign, I don't think that anybody's going to have to necessarily break the bank to bring him in. So it's going to be the options that he's going to have are probably going to be pretty vast. And I just hope that it's somewhere in the Western Conference. I want to be able to root for him on a regular basis on teams that aren't going to be playing against the Panthers, because he was a great guy when he was down here, just a humble, down-to-earth guy. He kind of like Bill Zito in that he gave you very honest, and truthful answers, and just very open, and also a great hockey player. So, one of those guys that's easy to root for. So I'm hoping he goes somewhere far, far away from South Florida, and we don't have to worry about, any of that coming back to the Panthers and shutting them out every time they play, like Roberto Luongo seemed to do when he first left for Vancouver.
Well said. We're joined here by Dave Dwork from Chirping the Cats Radio. What about the Panthers offseason? Because admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about their cap situation. How aggressive do you think Bill Zito is going to be in bringing in players? Are you expecting big moves potentially, or mostly small complementary type of moves?
Well, I wouldn't expect anything huge just because they've already got most of those big-time roles already in place. I mean, the big thing this summer is going to be getting Sasha Barkov's contract extension locked down, which it certainly seems like, all signs point to go in that. Barkov said in his exit interviews that he wants to be here for the rest of his career, and he anticipates his people talking to the Panthers. And Zito said yesterday that now that they're finished with the exit interviews and he can transition to that part of the offseason, it's going to be his priority, paramount, I believe was the word he used, to reach out to Barkov's agent and get that process started. So I don't really think that's going to be a big hurdle. I think it'll get done, relatively quickly just because both sides want it to happen, and Barkov's such a good guy in general that wants to be here. So, you think more in terms of like additions to the team. I would imagine there's going to be a few guys brought in because that's what Zito's done from day one, is really kind of work the roster in a way that he can make little tweaks and moves here or there. With a lot of the guys he signed last season, it was 1-2 year deals. So I'm curious to see where he goes with the roster. I'm fairly confident that they're going to bring in at least one or two more stable defensemen. This is a team that really seemed to be hoarding defensemen through most of the last season, and it's a good thing they did because their depth was tested pretty deep. They went, I think, 8 deep with their D in the playoffs. So, yeah, and then the restricted free agents as well. You've got Sam Bennett, Anthony Duclair, Gustav Forsling. Those are all guys that you would expect to be back. Beyond that, what are they going to do about a guy like Juho Lammikko or a Sam Montembeault if they want to keep the depth at goaltender? And then with the unrestricted free agents, Alex, I mean, we talked about Chris Streeter, but Alex Wenberg, I thought he was maybe the most underrated Panther this season.
Yeah.
Just amazing play across the board. He was contributing offensively. He was playing great defensive hockey, and he could end up being a third or even fourth center this year if they end up making the biggest move of the offseason that I'm kind of anticipating. And it's not even a signing. It's Anton Lundell, their first-round pick from last summer. He's going to be at training camp, Zito confirmed. He's probably going to earn himself a job. He's been amazing playing in the Finnish Elite League and now playing in the World Championships. He's been playing with men. He looks like he's ready to make the NHL jump. So the Panthers' center depth next season, if you've got a Barkov, Bennett, Lundell, possibly coming back a Wenberg, you've still got Noah Chari. The Panthers are stacking up, and that's what we're going to get back to my first point. It just feels like this success that they had this year is sustainable. Like it's something that we're going to be able to see this team succeed on a regular basis for the next several seasons. And look, we've never had that, so it's even hard to just fathom, right?
It really is. and I know that you've talked at least one Panthers fan off the ledge. Tony 2 times in the YouTube chat said, I liked work. He's talking me off the ledge. We will not be one and done, he said. We are building a consistent winner. And I would agree. And I know, Dave, you agree with that. So that's cool. You're giving people more confidence in the Panthers. I had something to ask you also away from the Panthers, and I'm going to address this myself a little bit later on for the roundtable question for today. But, in the Jets-Canadiens game last night, we had that really vicious hit from Mark Scheifele on Jake Evans that led to Evans being pretty seriously hurt and stretchered away. And I know that we've even had some arguments about this in the Onside Radio family because our guy Toast in the morning, he didn't think it was even a dirty hit. I thought it was a pretty filthy hit, Dave. What was your opinion on that? And I saw Scheifele is going to have a hearing. I don't know if the results of it have come out yet, but he was going to have a hearing today with NHL player safety. Now, he doesn't have a record of being a dirty player, which may help him because he's not a repeat offender, but he's going to get suspended at least for a game or two, right? What do you think comes out of that?
I would anticipate a multi-game suspension. I mean, you did mention the fact that Scheifele's never had any issues. He's not known as a dirty player. He's actually a pretty well-liked guy. And I've gone back and forth with this since last night. I've looked at the replay because, like, the hit itself isn't really. It's not like he tried to. It's not like he made the head the principal point of contact. It's not like anything. It's not like he left his feet. But when you come from that far away and you have the opportunity to not destroy the guy,
right?
You have to take the opportunity as a professional playing at the highest level in the entire world. There's a reason that hit that charging is a penalty, and there's a reason that hit is illegal because of the damage that it can inflict. And I think we saw a perfect example of that last night. It's not necessarily a dirty hit in the action of the physical hit, but when you play the result out, when you combine doing that, coming from that far away, not necessarily chucking his speed up, but he wasn't letting up either.
Right.
He knew what he was doing. He was driving with his legs. And when you do that and you go into a guy who's completely defenseless, his weight is all on the back ends of it, on the balls, or not on the balls of his feet. His weight's all on the back end of his feet. So he's already leaning back there as he does that wraparound. It was just a hurricane of disaster. And that's where I think it comes into play that Scheifele's got to understand. You don't do that. You don't make that play. And that's why it's a bad hit. That's why it's going to be, in all likelihood, a multi-game suspension. It's just an unfortunate situation. But I feel like at the end of the day, the conclusion that I've come to is that Scheifele's got to know better. You've got to understand that there are different ways to make that play. You don't have to hit him quite so hard. You can, check him with your stick. You can trip him up if you need to. Or you can just let up a little bit and take the body away without sending him literally head over heels. I mean, it was unbelievable watching that play out. But yeah, it's just, you've got to know better. I feel like that's where he made the mistake.
Agreed completely. Great stuff here. You can catch Dave on Chirping the Cats radio every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. talking all things Panthers and doing a great job. And make sure you follow him on Twitter at David Dwork. Dave, thank you so much, my friend, and enjoy your weekend coming up.
All right, Dragon. Be well.
Thanks, Nighthawk. Good stuff there from Dave. He always brings it strong. So I am going to step into the roundtable when we come back. A little bit later on this hour, 5:35, we're going to talk with Ira Winderman from the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. Usually on Thursdays, he joins me in the 3 o'clock hour, but for very good reason, we're delaying the fun until 5:35 today because he was a big part of the Pat Riley season-ending presser. He asked a few really good questions, and I love how diplomatic Ira is, by the way, with the way he asked Pat Riley some really difficult questions. So we're going to get Ira's take on how everything went down in the presser today a little bit later on. Hey, over the last 30 years, South Florida fans have always been able to count on one radio show that gives you the brutal honesty you need. That's Orlando Alzagari and the Onside Zone, daily from noon to 3 p.m., exclusively at OnsideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can now watch Onside Radio daily by subscribing to our YouTube and Twitch channels. Search Onside Radio. Log on, subscribe, rate, and review Onside Radio on YouTube and Twitch. Find out why Big O has a face for radio. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's home for real sports talk.
If you're looking for a change from the everyday restaurant, then you need to get to Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Brats, Wiener Schnitzel, homemade potato pancakes, pretzels with mustard, and lots of German beer. Take their famous Boot Tour Challenge, and there's now outdoor seating available in their new beer garden with live music. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant or call them for reservations or pickup at 954-785-7565. So get over to 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach to Zagat-rated Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant.
Sports fans love a place with great food, cold drinks, and TVs everywhere. That's why sports fans love Sports Grill and their 7 amazing locations. Check out the Miami Lakes location at 15462 Northwest 77th Court, located in the Ryan Oaks Plaza. Sports Grill is also now offering some great employment opportunities. All kinds of positions are now available from kitchen to hosting. Call for more information at 305-485-8845. From wraps to salads to amazingly delicious specialty dishes, Sports Grill is the home to the legendary special grilled wings. Since 1987, Sports Grill, good food, good drink, and good friends.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Vandalux. Bandolux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at bandolux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandolux Beauty. Go to bandolux.com or follow them on Instagram at bandolux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandolux partner.
Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., listen to Red Card Radio with Austin Robillard, brought to you by Stout Bar and Grill in Oakland Park. With over 40 TVs, Stout is the home for soccer around the world. Stout Bar features Clonakilty Whiskies, the world's best Irish whiskey.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty, to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need them most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up. Now, let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org and make a difference today.
Fight fans, July 16th, it's another bare-knuckle battle as BYB Extreme showcases another fight card at Hard Rock Hollywood. As we get ready for BYB 6, let's find out more about the fighters, like Christine Knuckles Stanley. The lady from Lake Bay, Washington loves to put people to sleep and makes it a hobby to enjoy her sleep. Christine stands 5'5" and 135 pounds and sports an undefeated mark of 2-0. The painter by day, born in Everett, Washington, is ready for the Trigon Challenge. The Trigon, the smallest and most confrontational ring in combat sports. Catch the power of Christine Knuckles Stanley at BYB 6, live at Hard Rock Hollywood, July 16th. Watch it on stonefaces.tv. Don't miss BYB 6 at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood. You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world. You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida's true hometown station. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. Check this out. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Something that was said by Packers head coach Matt LaFleur made me chuckle this morning. So LaFleur was addressing the media, and the Packers have mandatory minicamp camp opening up next Tuesday. He said, quote, "It's important that we have all of our guys, and certainly, talking about Aaron Rodgers, certainly we'd love him to be here, and hopefully we'll see him Tuesday." Guys, hopefully I go out on a date with Sofia Vergara tonight. Like, that's about as likely as Aaron Rodgers showing up to Packers minicamp on Tuesday. It's kind of pathetic, wishful thinking. And yeah, I'm sure LaFleur hopes that Aaron Rodgers shows up, because even though, you know what, I'm not going to say none of it is his fault, because that knucklehead shouldn't have ordered that field goal. So LaFleur is not completely innocent here, but it's, you know, probably mostly not his fault that this saga is going on. And yet, if Rodgers doesn't show up and he holds out, you know, whether he gets traded or just holds out, it's going to hurt the Packers short term either way. Now, if they can trade him, at least long term, you're getting assets in return. But if he holds out, then, you know, the question mark just extends. But without Aaron, if you have to turn it over like this coming season to Jordan Love, you're finito. You're done. Like they're going to be terrible. And then, who if you have a really poor season, who ends up being the scapegoat most of the time? The head coach. So, yeah, you bet your ass LaFleur is hoping that Rodgers shows up. And if Rodgers does skip all 3 days of minicamp, they can fine him over $93,000, $93,085. But I think Rodgers is doing okay financially. Maybe he can borrow some money from that very rich fiance of his. And B, I think Rodgers knows that if the situation gets resolved one way or another, he can probably find a way to recover that money. This is one of the things that Ian Rappaport said yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, that if eventually Rodgers and the Packers do come to terms, then they might, either wash the fines away or kind of pay him extra on his extension. They're going to find a way to make it go away, and maybe the same thing could happen if he does get traded. They're going to find a way to make it right. So the bottom line is, like, the fine, it's not necessarily real, right? But he will receive a hefty fine if he does not show up to Packers camp. But he'll end up being in Fiji or something, right? Like they're going to be starting minicamp on Tuesday, and the Packers beat writers are like, "Where's Aaron Rodgers?" Then he's going to tweet out a photo jumping off a goddamn waterfall in Fiji, or scuba diving somewhere. Oh, okay, he's not even anywhere near. I don't think we have any scuba diving sites in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I don't think we have any volcanoes in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm pretty sure he's not here. Yeah, he's not going to be there. I'm sorry. He's not going to show up. Let's step into the round table. Watching this hit last night, wow. How should the NHL handle the disgusting hit by the Winnipeg Jets' Mark Scheifele on the Canadiens' Jake Evans, who had to be taken off the ice on a stretcher after that empty net goal on Wednesday night? And that looked really, really serious on the ice, and I hope Jake Evans is okay. And, the Canadiens players got really testy, rightfully so, after that Scheifele hit. And you know what? When Scheifele was walking out back, after getting tossed from that game, you could even see the look on his face. There was some remorse there. He realized what he had done, how serious it was, how dirty the hit was. It's a charging penalty and a very, very serious one. So Evans had, gone around for a wraparound and was stationary. He had stopped. And Scheifele basically charged from one end of the ice to the other with a head full of steam and just blasted Evans. And what made that hit most problematic to me was he was not trying to play the puck whatsoever. That's the issue. Like, that's why Scheifele, if he were to try to appeal any punishment that comes down, there's really no grounds for an appeal because there was no effort to play the puck. Like, he basically charged from one end of the ice to the other in frustration to just destroy Evans, and he did it. And he was frustrated, he was emotional, and I think he realizes after the fact that what he did was wrong. So I've done a little bit of research on this over the last 18 hours or so, just kind of precedent for what he might get. And what makes this a little bit complicated for Scheifele, who, he had a hearing today with the NHL Player Safety Committee, so they're probably figuring out what punishment to dole out to him as we speak. I believe it's going to be a multi-game suspension. I don't think it's going to be anything severe as like a 7-10-game suspension, and that's only because Mark Scheifele has a clean record, and they take these things into account, right? When someone like Tom Wilson, who's a dirty player, commits a dirty hit, they take the precedent and they take the record into account. He's a repeat offender, so they're always going to come down harder on a guy like that, whereas Scheifele has never been suspended for a hit before. Like, this is uncharted waters for him. So I think the punishment's going to be less severe only because he's got the clean record coming in. And maybe if he does, when he had his meeting with the Player Safety Committee, I'm sure that was part of his argument to please go easy on me. I've never done anything like this before. And if he does decide to appeal it after the fact, that would probably be part of his argument that, hey, this was a momentary lapse in judgment. This is not who I am. This is never who I've been. So maybe that can help him a little bit. But I would be surprised and disappointed if the NHL did not suspend him for at least 2 games, because there's no place in the game for that, okay? Hockey is a physical game, and there are legal hits that happen all the time. There are legal fights. I mean, I say quote-unquote legal. Guys do get roughing penalties and game misconducts for fights, but fights are technically an acceptable part of the game. But a hit like that to charge with the head of steam, where he had plenty of time, Scheifele had plenty of time to pull up, to slow down, to go a little bit easy on Evans, who was a defenseless target at that point. He had plenty of opportunity to not deliver a, concussive, destructive blow like he delivered. And there's no place for that in the game, right? I mean, sometimes physicality, contact happens by accident in hockey because of the nature of the game. But there was nothing accidental about what Mark Scheifele did to Jake Evans. And, the NHL, I'm not saying lock this guy up and throw away the key, but their response has to be punitive. Like, I know that our guy Toast in the morning didn't think the hit was dirty. I completely disagree. I mean, even if, and David Dwork said it really well when he was on with us, I asked him about the Scheifele hit. Like, the form of the hit itself, it's not like he led with the head or cut down the legs or anything like that. So the actual, like, if you watch the hit in slow motion, the form of the hit was pretty textbook, but the context of the hit was egregious, right? Because he had plenty of opportunity and time to avoid the destructive content that he put on the opposing player, and the situation in the game as well when the game was over. There's no place for that in hockey. Physical game, I don't mind the physicality. I like the hitting. I enjoy the fighting, but that was a step too far, my friends. So, yeah, he needs to be suspended for multiple games because of that. All right, when we come back, I'm so excited for this. And for those of you who missed it, during the 3 o'clock hour, we aired it live, Pat Riley's postseason presser. And a man who was a really big part of that, Ira Winderman from the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, is going to join us when we come back. Ira Winderman is going to join us for the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report right here on the only locally owned sports station in South Florida. We are OnSideRadio.com.
The man of the match with South Florida's own Alex Donno. Weekdays 1 to 5 p.m. on the home for Inter-Miami football. OnSideRadio.com.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that. Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
If you missed On Side Zone with Big O, you missed.
The 25-year-old was reportedly arrested this past week near Vail, where a sheriff's deputy said he saw Camargo's car speeding and changing lanes erratically, which is always really smart. When you're carrying a lot of drugs, you want to speed, you want to swerve, you want to look like you're drunk and high and all that. You want to cause as much attention. You want to bring as much attention to you when you're carrying a load of drugs. That's just a tip for you, thieves out there, you drug dealers, you criminals. Bring all the attention possible to you while you're committing a crime. It's really, really smart.
The On Side Zone with Big O, only on OnSideRadio.com. You're listening to the only sports station in South Florida that likes to take your calls. 888-441-4623. We connect with a South Florida sports fan because we are South Florida. Locally owned and operated. 888-441-4623. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk.
When you're tired of watching the sun damage your furniture or raise your electric bill, it's time to do what we did here at OnSideRadio.com studio. Call A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise. A Shade Above Window Fashions has a great selection of blackout shades to choose from. We can almost create a complete blackout for your bedroom or media room. Call them at 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A Shade Above Window Fashion.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. It's time to talk Miami Heat with NBA insider Ira Winderman. It's the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat Report, exclusively at OnSideRadio.com. Let's go over the latest headlines locally with the Miami Heat and league-wide in the NBA with our very own Ira Winderman.
Pat Riley spoke to the media today, as you heard it right here on OnSideRadio.com, and a big part of that presser was our man, Ira Winderman, who joins us for the Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat Report. And Ira, I complimented you on the show. I love how good you are at diplomatically asking tough questions, like the way that you worded a question to Riley about his future, which if you don't ask that question the right way, it can come off as a little bit abrasive. I thought you crafted it so well. So what was your takeaway from his answer? Like how long or short term do you think Riley's commitment is to Miami?
Oh, I think Pat Riley is fully a lifer. And the way Donno asked that question was, I just thought in the wake of what happened in Boston with Danny Ainge and with Brad Stevens, could there be a parallel situation here? And Pat just, offhandedly just sort of, pushed that aside, that I do what I do, he does what he does, and we'll just do it better. And I thought that would be the answer. So, again, it's always tough to reference someone's age, and there's really no need to in Pat Riley's case, because he certainly is as vital and as active, and as commanding a presence as he probably ever has been anyway. But it's just the kind of things you got to check off the box. When I went into that press conference, there were about 16 items I had hoped that myself or someone else asked. And just to sort of let people know how the sausage is made a little bit, they basically told us you can ask 2 questions at a time. You then have to lower your hand on Zoom and then raise your hand again, and you'll be called on if there's time. So I actually sent a text to someone who was moderating who said, don't call on me early. I'm hoping I could check off most of these 16 boxes and then sort of double back to the questions I needed to. I think we got answers. Well, I don't want to say answers because that's not true. I think we got responses to just about every issue. You know what, Alex? The answers don't come in a press conference. They come in actions.
Right.
They come in whether Tyler Hero is here or not. They come in on whether the Heat decides to play more big ball because of the rebounding deficit. It comes when we see what they really do with Duncan Robinson and Kendrick Nunn and Goran Dragic and all their other free agents. So today was more about setting the tone of how they would like to approach the offseason, but it's still, at the end of the day, the actions are what's really going to matter.
Well, and okay, how much should I read into what Riley said when he closed things off? He said there will be a lot of news over the summer, and he did also say will be back. So, like, how do I – because Riley can be poetic and cryptic at times. Is that code for we're going to be making big moves this summer?
I think that's code for they'll be making a lot of moves this summer. That I believe they only have 5 players like under full guaranteed contract that don't include team options or player options or right to matches, restricted free agents. So there are plenty of things that have to get done. So there will be news. And even someone who's already locked in Jimmy Butler, he also has that 4-year, $181 million extension that's possible if the Heat offer it. So there is a lot of stuff they need to get done. Pat Riley said, this was going to be our off-season of activity. And then, of course, we know Bam Adebayo signed the extension. Giannis Antetokounmpo decided to re-up with the Bucks, and it's not quite the same landscape. But I really like one of his opening comments when he said, you can't keep pushing the can down the road. You can't keep deferring. At a certain point, you have to say, okay, it's go time. So I think in light of a very limited free agent class, I think Pat Riley still wants to make this go time.
You know, Riley was asked about something that's been written and talked about a lot in a Jimmy Butler extension, and he did say it's not been discussed. That doesn't mean it won't be discussed, and it's something that's been a subject of much debate, Ira, the idea of extending Jimmy until he's 36 years old. Now, I'm thinking if something like that is done, maybe that makes the Heat more attractive to recruit other players around Jimmy if he gets locked in. So do you think that kind of could be a tax in order to land a whale?
It could be, but then you're taking away your whale money. So, it's sort of like it's a double-edged sword. That eventually, if this group doesn't work out or ages out or Bam doesn't take the next step after an uneven playoff series, and all of a sudden, I don't know what you're necessarily luring people with. So I think that's a concern. I think you can do a Jimmy Butler 2-year extension, have him here for at least 3 more years, Donno, and accomplish much of that, especially when you look at some of the older players, maybe like a 30-year-old Bradley Beal or an older player you might be trying to entice. I don't think that 4 or 5 years down the road really matters as much. I think we're seeing more and more that there are certain teams in go mode, and there are certain teams that are forever pushing off their future. The Oklahoma City Thunder, the Orlando Magic, the Houston Rockets. That's not who Pat is. So I don't think anything that Pat does this offseason is saying, yeah, and in 4 years this is going to pay dividends. Because, Donno, if Pat Riley did take the long view, the Heat would have a draft choice this year, and they would have a first-round pick in 2 years, and they'd have a second-round pick in any draft coming up, which they don't. So I never sort of attach much of a long view for Pat Riley. He wants to do this summer what will make his team good for next season.
Now, something, of course, people need to remember if they listen to Pat today or if they listen back to it later, he cannot comment on specific players who are not under contract. So, of course, the media can't be asking him, are you going to go after this guy, that guy? But somebody you wrote about this week, Miles Turner, I think you were asked about him in an Ask Ira. Could you see someone like Miles landing here, and what could the impact be?
You know what? This is, Donald, this is important for people. Yes, the Heat could have at least $20 million in cap space this summer, possibly, depending on what happens to Kendrick Nunn and Duncan Robinson, as much as $28 million in cap space. And I know people automatically then look to the free agent market and say, I'm going to pay this guy or that guy or split it between these guys. Again, cap space doesn't have to be spent in free agency. It can be utilized in trades. You can take in a big contract like a Miles Turner for a small contract like a Tyler Hero because you have the extra cap space to take care of it. So I think what you have to look at is this. What other teams are distressed and feel they have to make moves to upgrade themselves? Indiana's been very wobbly. Looks like they might have their 3rd coach in 3 years, the way it's working out there. They've pretty much said that the dynamic between Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis has not been effective for them in their style. So that's sort of a name that jumped out at me. It's like, well, wait a minute. I got a guy here who could block shots. I got a guy here who can shoot 3-pointers. And that would sort of augment Bam. Now, he's not a multi-positional defender. He gets stuck out in the wing and in trouble at times. But, hey, the Heat have taught that skill. So what I was trying to stress in that Ask Ira at sunsentinel.com was this. Don't just think about free agency. There also are possibilities on the trade market. And, Donno, I'm going to publish the free agent list soon at sunsentinel.com. Nice. And when you look at those names, you're going to realize it might have to be done by a trade because unless you're wowed by the prospect of a 35-year-old Kyle Lowry or a Dennis Schroeder and his uneven play with the Lakers, or Kawhi Leonard, maybe if they go out in the first round making a move, although the Heat don't have the full money for that. There just is not a lot in that free agent list. It's a very meh free agent list this year.
As you said early in this conversation, that it's really about actions, not answers, as far as what Riley had to say today. And
correct.
You know, a player that he was super complimentary of, called him a core piece, was Tyler Hero. Now, obviously, it was a pretty frustrating second year for Hero, and that was even, you know, somebody you mentioned in a very hypothetical manner as maybe an outgoing trade piece. So could you see that? Because with the way Riley speaks, it doesn't sound like he has any interest in trading Hero, but the reality could be different, right?
You know, I think, Donno, the way he spoke shows he has an interest and knows he has to build value. And so he spoke about his ability to play off the dribble, and that he's not catch and shoot anymore, and that he's a more complete player. And that's what you do when you're trying to sell your car at the used car lot and saying, yes, this baby has a bunch of miles on it, but it sure can still handle. So I think what Pat Riley did with Tyler Hero is what you'd expect. If you have they almost have no trade assets, this team. They have no draft picks. They have so many free agents. They're not going to move, seemingly, Bam Adebayo or Jimmy Butler. So you need to talk up Tyler Hero. You need to say how special he is. I think Tyler Hero might be their only true trade asset this offseason. I would put it as high as 50-50 that he could be dealt in this offseason, because I think this roster can compensate for his absence, and I still think he could be seen as a value play for a team that at least will be able to keep his rights after his rookie contract, maybe in a market that doesn't otherwise lure free agents.
Actually, another one of the Riley answers that I enjoyed was when he was asked about the Milwaukee Bucks tweet that about, I'm paraphrasing, when they said this ain't the bubble anymore. And Riley kind of said something I've been saying all week, Ira, is people keep using this whole bubble thing as a way to insult Miami. I mean, first of all, every team had the same conditions in the bubble. And second of all, if people are trying to make the argument that Miami somehow was better mentally equipped to handle a bubble environment, isn't that kind of a compliment to Heat culture?
Yeah, and Donno, I would almost say this is more of an asterisk season than last season. I mean, think about this last season, okay? Not a single NBA player contracted COVID while in the bubble. Not a single team had to play shorthanded because of pandemic protocols, unless players broke rules or had to leave. So there was no COVID impact in the bubble. That it was everyone's available and just go play basketball, no travel, no limitations, no home court, no road court, nothing like that. It was a lot purer than this season, where a lot of the teams who might have gone out early in the playoffs, like the Heat, wound up with their seeds because of COVID issues, because of losing Jimmy Butler to 10 games to pandemic protocols, because of losing almost the entire roster for a 2-game trip to Philadelphia. So I think if there's an asterisk season, one, I think this season is more of the asterisk. And I know I've already have a scheduled tweet to go out. And when the Bucks lose in the second round to the Nets, I'm going to send out my tweet that, quote, this isn't the first round anymore.
Yes! That is so good. So elsewhere, outside of Miami, I'm going to be slamming coffees tonight, Ira, to make sure I could stay up to watch Suns-Lakers Game 6 in its duration. They're killing us with these 10:30 starts, but it's do or die for L.A., and they are a 2-point favorite at home tonight. Do you think they extend the series? And the other question, does LeBron actually stay inside the arena for the full 48 minutes tonight?
If they win, he does. I've learned to never bet against LeBron in a playoff situation, so I'm not going to. A matter of fact, to me, the series, let alone tonight's game, is still a toss-up, especially because of Chris Paul's shoulder injury, and I don't know how fit he is. So it really is sort of, a matter of just, sort of getting to the end in a battle of attrition. But to your point about the time and everything, I mean, nothing has changed to one degree in the NBA. The Western Conference playoffs are still compelling. The Eastern Conference playoffs are still far, far less than that. I mean, yeah, Knicks fans, you got to celebrate outside the Garden because you won your first playoff game in 8 years. Yay! And that was it. It was like when they dropped the confetti when Carmelo won one game in a first-round series against the Heat's Big Three. kind of embarrassing, but really all the first-round series in the East, even though Atlanta was a road team, they were the better team. And the other series were largely unwatchable. The West is where it's at. You might not be compelled by Nuggets and Trailblazers, but my gosh, that double overtime game, what Dame Dollar did in the overtime periods of that game, it's really been about the West. I think they need to switch time zones and move all the West teams to the East.
I'm totally down with that, by the way, because I've had bags under my eyes for these entire playoffs so far. Like it's really rough. We appreciate your time as always, Ira Winderman. You can check him out on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Check out his work at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. This has been the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat Report. Ira, thank you so much. That was an incredible breakdown of everything that was said today, and we'll talk to you again next week.
And now back to the Da Vinci Code. That is any Pat Riley press conference. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome. Thank you. And actually, listen, this one felt shorter than a lot of years, and it was probably the Zoom aspect of it. I don't think Riley is quite as long-winded when the reporters are connecting virtually. So I'm not saying like it's going to be an easy job to decipher all the quotes and write about everything, but like it was less than an hour today. It was like 43, 44 minutes of Riley. There have been times at the end of a season where he'll go on for 90 minutes plus. So we got off easy today, to be quite honest. Oh, man, we're going to have our crosstalk with Stephen D. When we come back here. Stephen D., of course, hosts the awesome newest show here on this station. The fans support the teams. They buy the jerseys and tickets, but they never get the love that they deserve on sports radio. OnSideRadio.com changes that with Miami sports music for the fans. It's the show driven by Stephen D., representing Miami sports fans around the world. Tune in every night from 6 to 7 p.m. as Stephen D. and fans around the world drive the talk about your favorite South Florida sports team. OnSideRadio.com is dedicated to the Miami sports fan.
The man of the match with South Florida's own Alex Donno. Weekdays 1 to 5 p.m. on the home for Inter Miami football. OnSideRadio.com.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now, it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com, broadcasting from South Florida to the world. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
So we're going to have a loaded night here on Onside Radio. We've got Stephen D coming up from 6 to 7. I'm not going anywhere. I'm back 7 to 9 p.m. with James Walker, and we're going to steal Stephen D for a segment tonight on Fight Night as well. So we're going to make this guy work overtime here tonight. He's coming up from Miami Sports Music for the Fans. Steven, how's your evening going so far, my friend?
It's better now that I'm talking to you.
You know what? I feel the same way about you. This is crazy.
See, it's a love fest, bro. It's a love fest.
Too bad we didn't play like the Barry White lead-in music like we did
I
yesterday.
know, dude. You know what, Alex, from here on out, we need you to play that song from here on out when I come on to do the crossover.
He's giving me the big thumbs up, so I know he's ready to make that happen. My Tua Tagovailoa love fest continues. A trainer of his said something interesting. I want to make sure I get this guy's name right. Nick Hicks of Perform, who works with Tua, said, and this wasn't like, anything about him like risking further injury last year. It was kind of about like his fitness and throwing mechanics, but his trainer estimated that he was only about 60% last year, which to me, I take that as a good sign that if Tua is in a better place fitness-wise coming into next year, that he's going to blow up. What do you think about that?
I think they need to be playing LL Cool J song, I'm Going to Love You Better, because I think that's what Tua's going to do this year for us. I think he's going to make the fans love him a little bit more. Dude, I think that the fans are going to Tua's going to blow up. Like, this is going to be something that we've never seen before from a first-year quarterback to a second-year quarterback. I've been saying that for weeks now on multiple different platforms. And I think it's a lot of different things, and I've said this on your show before. It's because there was no training camp. There was no preseason. There was nothing there for him to ultimately get better except during the season.
Right.
And you're pretty much learning on a fly. And so now you've had an off season where he's been, behind closed, on a practice field with other receivers working on timing. He's been bulking up. The man's muscle has muscles. Dude, Tua's going to have, I think he's going to have the best year in the NFL. I think he has an opportunity to win the MVP. I really do.
Your mouth to God's ears, my friend. Hey, what do you have planned tonight on Miami Sports Music for the Fans?
I think you're going to like it. I got a really cool guy named Zachariah Bush. He has a following on Instagram called Not the Best Drawings. And he's got some really, really cool drawings for Not the Best Drawings. He's done stuff. I'm looking at stuff from, Jalen Phillips, Tua Tagovailoa, Albert Wilson. Jalen Waddle. You got to check it out. Like, this kid's got skills, like real skills. And he's a huge Miami Dolphins fan, which makes it even better.
Dude, I love it. So Stephen D is coming up. Hey, man, kick ass. Have a great show. And we'll talk to you around 7 o'clock again on Fight Night, because I want to talk some UFC with you.
Hey, make sure you guys keep it on the StreamYard, too, so you guys can see my beautiful smiling face. You're going to have to talk with Alex about that. But I want to see you in person.
He looks I'm looking at Alex, and he looks so perplexed. Like, he's like, oh, my God, I got to figure out how to cross the wires and get it back. So I can't make you any guarantees. Plus, we got a different producer, so I got to see if my guy Abel can make that happen at 7 o'clock tonight. But we'll
look at people are getting behind-the-scenes stuff. That's how cool we are.
We're amazing. We take people behind the curtain. Have an awesome show, man. I'll talk to you in a little over an hour.
All right, bro. Sounds good.
Good stuff, man. So make sure you tune in. Miami Sports Music for the Fans is coming up. Hey, we'd like to thank A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie, 954-434-4774. A Shade Above teamed up with Bandalux to personalize and create the Onside Radio shade in beautiful pink and black. To order protection with style for your home or office like we did, call A Shade Above Window Fashions, 954-434-4774. Go to the website, ashadeaboveflorida.com. Love the space you live in, A Shade Above Window Fashions. Huge thanks to Alex Aguirre. Huge thanks to Ira Winderman, David Dwork, and Kyle Krabs for joining us. And if you missed any part of the show, my friends, you can always catch the podcast replays. Anywhere podcasts can be downloaded, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. You can find us, search Onside Radio or search Alex Donno. We will talk to you guys again. I'll talk to you tonight, 7 to 9 p.m. with James Walker on Fight Night, and then we'll do Man of the Match again tomorrow from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on OnsideRadio.com.
The viewpoints, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors,